Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Thursday show. I'm Trucker Todd. Let's get the ticker up and all that good stuff, and then we'll jump right into the comments, and I'll kind of tell you about my crazy week. As you guys know, Tuesday I did not have a show. There was no technical Tuesday, no technical problems. And tonight I've already had problems. While the intro was playing, my Bluetooth just turned off. So I was working on that behind the scenes, trying to get everything up. We're also near the end of the billing cycle. And so it's very possible that my data may run out and I may have to switch to different data. Who knows what tonight's going to bring? Probably depends how long the show goes. But anyway, I appreciate everybody being here. I just want to say hi to a few of you, and then I'll kind of tell you about this week. I've also got a guy that's going to pop in the comment section later. He asked me about a trucking company that I had never heard of. So I looked into it real quick before the show, and I thought it'd be good to talk about it because this guy was really impressed with it, and I was not. And so it's, I think if I kind of explain to you why I'm not impressed with it, maybe when you guys are looking for jobs, you will kind of know what pitfalls to look out for and things like that. Now, I always get nervous when I do this because if I start talking about another company, you guys start saying, oh, Trucker Todd's getting ready to leave that guy he's with. Let me say, especially after this week, after what's happened, there's no way I'm leaving this guy. You don't find out how people are when times are good. When when the peanut butter hits the fan, that's when you find out what kind of people you're dealing with. And this guy has been, honestly, I don't think I would have been as great as him had the roles been reversed. So, usually whoever your authority person is, you go, man, that guy doesn't do this right. That guy doesn't do this right. I think I could do a better job than what he does. Uh, not, no, this week, no, the things that he's done, the things he's put up with, he's definitely top notch, and I'm not going anywhere. However, when you guys ask me about companies, I'm going to give you my unbiased opinion. And so, anyway, let's say hi to some people. Asphalt Jungle was the first one in here today, and he was in here way early at like 2:36, so almost 2.5 hours early. And so glad he's here. Really good guy. Kurt was here next. Good, glad he's here. And somebody that makes me laugh almost every time I talk to him on the phone. He's wise beyond his years. Yes, we're talking about Tim Back, a really good friend and a great guy. Glad he's here. Roger says, what's going on, fellers? Not much, man. We're just getting the show rolling. um, Checking the comments. I appreciate each and every one of you being here. I'm sure you're all just as busy as I am, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to hang out with me. My other good friend, hi Todd, did my email go through? I texted you about that and emailed you. The email came through, but it was blank. John's trying to send me a video, and we're having some technical issues there, but he's working on it, and I'm sure during the show he'll get it, and then after the show we'll look at it and discuss it. The right way to truck is here. All right, I appreciate you being here. John reaching out to Tim back to say hi. Tim back reaching back. Tim's driving right now, so he said if we go long tonight, he may be in here, but he's out there uh, making it happen. Travis Jones is here. Good evening, Travis here, checking in from St. Louis. Well, we're glad you're here, Travis. Good evening, Gary Cook. Thanks for being here, my friend. Jonah Green, good evening. Hal Young is here. That's kind of a cool picture in your profile there. Glad you made it in. Good to see you as well, Stan. Thank you for being here. John says it was operator error on his part. I have got no room to talk about operator error. You know, you guys know I came from a sales background, and even when I would work at large dealerships with like 20 plus salespeople, I was always in the like top two or three. In the end, I went to smaller dealerships with 3 to 5 salespeople. I was always, in the top one or two there. And then I, transitioned over to trucking. In trucking, I've always been one of the better drivers at DART on the OPI board, which is where you ran the spot market. I always performed really well, very few issues. And, it got to the point where some people thought I had kind of an inflated ego. And maybe I do, maybe I don't. That's something that's up for debate. What is not up for debate is the last 3 weeks have been really, really humbling. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've done a lot of things wrong, and the guy I'm working for has been really patient with me. But I have not been uh, behaving or performing like a guy that offers advice and knows what he's doing. And I've been outright frustrated with myself. I ain't gonna lie. And there's been times that I've questioned, have I lost it? Uh, have I still got what it takes? And I think he sensed that. And a few days ago, he sent me my numbers so far 3 weeks in, and I was above where we discussed that I needed to be. So I'm outperforming what I said my minimums were. Of course, no matter what you do, you always wish you did more. There's been some setbacks here lately. The trailer, you might remember, I was critical of it, um, a couple of weeks ago. Um, and we had an opportunity. I had a long load going from Montana to Pittsburgh that had some time on it. I stopped at a Love's in Pittsboro, Indiana, and I'll be honest, that shop, I believe, in my opinion, ripped off the company that I work for. I believe that they did some really dishonest stuff, but that trailer is on point now. I have no complaints about the trailer. And something weird happened when they fixed it. They replaced the ABS module and an ABS sensor. And I know this should have nothing to do with it, maybe pure coincidence, but now all of a sudden the slider works better. Everything on that trailer's better. They also replaced a clearance light. Now, the few times I've done it, maybe I was on perfectly flat land. Maybe the weight of the load was such that there wasn't a lot of weight on the pins. But if I blindfolded you and took you for a ride in that trailer right now, you would swear it was a brand new trailer. And so I'm uh, I'm grateful to him for fixing it, even though I feel like he overpaid. It just shows his commitment to safety and doing the right thing. And on top of that, he mentioned, I've got a load going home. I'll be home probably next Thursday. I don't remember what day that is. I think it's the 13th. And so not going to be there long, maybe a day or two. Long side, I might stay for the weekend. It really depends on how long it takes me to get things done. But yeah, the trailer's great, and I've got a load going home. But anyway, what I was trying to get to is he told me, well, by the time you get home, I've probably got you another trailer here at the yard. And so it looks like from Lubbock, I'll probably have to go to his place to pick up the new trailer. But I'm much more content with this one than I was previously. And like he said, he's gone months without having to do anything to this trailer. And since I've had it, he's had to put a tire on it, and he ended up doing 2 tires because that's how he likes to do it. And then he had to do an ABS module and the ABS sensor. But and I think he's planning on trading that trailer off at some point. But it's a really solid trailer now. And when I told him how good it was, he said he might keep it and just pull it himself. I guess he'll kind of evaluate it when he gets it back. But my APU went out, and it's nothing major. The belt has stretched, which It's you can reach under there and it's got way too much play in it. And some of the sides are starting to wear off, so it needs a new belt. And I've stopped at two different truck stops, a TA and a Love's, and they used to work on APUs a lot. They shy away from it now. Both of them said, "Oh, we don't stock the belt," and I'm like, "Well, can you get the belt?" We don't know, and you could tell they just didn't want to work on it. And I've learned you don't take stuff to a shop where they don't want to work on it. So hopefully, when I'm in Lubbock, I'll have time to run it by the Thermo King dealer there and either buy a belt from them and put it on myself or let them do it. It looks pretty um, tight in there. I don't know if my little hands will fit in there or not, but I may take a look at it and see if that's something I can do or if it's worth the 80 or $100 to let somebody else do it so I don't screw something up. But other than that, truck's running great. Things have been going really good. Um, that load going to Lubbock has multiple stops on it. I mean, like 4 or 5. But it paid really good for a Lubbock load, around $3. I think it's about 280 a mile, something like that. And the rest of the loads going to Lubbock were like $1.30, $1.50. So I saw it as my opportunity to get down there. Wife picked up some medication today that I need, and I've got some other things to do. Like I said, I'll try to get that APU taken care of, either do it myself or let somebody else do it, and then I'll be right back out. It's on a Thursday at 3 p.m. when the load delivers, and so, like I said, I'll probably try to do everything on Friday, and then we'll see what load availability is like. I'm already looking now, and so when something pops up, hopefully I'll get a shot at it pretty quick. But let's jump back into the comments here before we get too far behind. Let's see. No Fear saying hi to everybody. Glad you're here. Ah, Red Raider says he's listening, but his signal is pretty sketchy between Jacksboro and Bridgeport. He and I used to work for the same, well, not for the same company, but we used to pull the same freight from that warehouse. That's actually the warehouse I'll be at on Thursday at 3 p.m. So I may run into him while I'm there. I don't want to announce where it is on here, but Red Raider knows where I'm talking about. Red Raider, if you're around that yard around 3 p.m. On Thursday, a week from today, you might run into me. We still doing well in this oil field trucking. Hope you are too. Thanks, Corey Ray. I've always been afraid of two jobs. One of them is roofing because I'm not big on heights. I'm okay once I'm on the roof, but I get a little nervous getting on and off the ladder. And the other one's oil field because a lot of people get killed. A lot of people lose fingers, arms, things like that. A lot of people that are not from the oil field area don't realize just how dangerous it is. Now, oil fields, you can make a lot of money where I live, and a lot of people do it. But I've always tried to hang on to all my arms and fingers and things like that. Good friend Mark Ely is here. Doing good, man. Thank you for being here. Better late than never. We're glad you made it. We're just kind of getting things rolling. So you hadn't missed a whole lot yet, but we're glad you're here. Only 8 minutes late. Doing good. Ramon is here. Hey, man, I'm doing good. How are you? Oops. My goal is to make as much as I can and have fun being out here driving truck, no matter how much I make. Yeah, I've talked about that in a lot of videos, and I call it work-life balance. And there's a there's a it's important to make money, and drivers get out here and they're like, "Well, I made $10,000 gross this week. I made this amount this month," and I'm like, "That's great, but did you get to spend time with your family? Did you get to have some time off? Try to find that balance. We all need to make money, and in this market, trust me, I'm working harder than I've worked in a long time. I'm taking loads that I wouldn't have normally taken, things like that. So, but at the same time, I've been home once in the past 3 weeks, and I'm heading that way again. It'll end up that I'll be home just over, well, right at twice in a 5 week period. And right now I'm playing catch up from being off that 6 weeks. But once I get things caught up, then I'll kind of slow down and get into a rhythm and a pace of where I pass through the house some, take a 10-hour break there, keep going, take a 34-hour break there, keep going. If I need a few days off, family function, something like that, I'll do it. I found out that my family's getting together in East Texas at the same time I was scheduled to do that truck show. It turns out there's some issues with doing the truck show, so I don't know if I'm going to go to that or go to the family event, or just stay out and keep running. And but I'll update you guys. I know some of you are planning to go and meet me there, and hopefully I can still do it. But there's still a lot of stuff up in the air. Oh boy, I love this truck. It's been fuel efficient. It's done good. When you buy a used truck, you never know uh, because no matter how good of an inspection you do, you can miss something. There could be something internal you didn't know, and still could be. But happy to have had it in service. I've had it, a little over a month now. It's been in service for just over 3 weeks now, and no big issues other than the APU, and that's a minor issue. They sling belts all the time. As a matter of fact, when I either fix this one or do it myself, I'll probably buy an extra belt and just carry it in the truck with me because you'll sling them every few months if you use it pretty regularly. What's up, Joe Bananas? Glad you're here. Someone said you're going to team driving with Coach. No, Coach he already has a partner, Stuart, and from what I understand, they're doing very well, and I'm happy for them. Don't really don't really follow it that close or know that much about it, but it sounds like they're both happy doing what they're doing. You can stop by anything. Yep, yep. I've done that before, and there's a pretty good one in Lubbock, and I define pretty good as not having to wait a long time. I just know you're going to pay those Thermo King prices, and if it's we'll find out what labor is and all that. If they charge a half-hour labor, yeah, I'll probably let them do it so that I don't have to get under there and get dirty and get crap all over me. But if they start being ridiculous on pricing, then I'll just buy the belt and do it myself. William Scooby is here. Hello, my friend. Dice Man going live, saying hi to Gary. Hey Todd, did you purchase a warranty with your truck? Yeah, I got a 2-year, 250,000 mile warranty. It's actually a pretty good one. It's got a $350 deductible, and they cover labor rates up to 150. If it's over 150, they try to negotiate it down. If they can't, then I got to pay the difference. So, for example, if the labor rate was 180 and they paid 150, I'd have to pay the extra 30 if they couldn't get it negotiated off. All in all, seems like a pretty good warranty. Truth is about warranties, though, the devil's in the details. And while I have read what they cover and don't cover, it can get in the weeds a little bit. I know from my service writing days that, you know, uh, for example, turbos might be covered, but if something else causes the turbo to go out, that might void the coverage of the turbos. So you have to find out what the cause of failure is, and then that determines what's covered. And, warranties do what they can to get out of paying for stuff usually, but any coverage is better than no coverage. And I've seen some that are a lot worse than this one. One of them's called, I believe the company's called NPD, and they were not good at all. They're the ones I had when the engine went out on my 3rd week at Roadrunner with that truck, and Roadrunner changed me into a different truck. I was not impressed with that warranty at all, but this one seems pretty good, and fortunately I hadn't had to use it yet. My good friend Ted Van Buskirk is here. Glad you made it, man. Yeah, I'm doing good. Another good guy's here, Wesley Baxley. Thanks for coming in, man. Wesley, that reminds me, while I got you on here, did you email me something I was supposed to email you back about? I've been so covered up. The owner of this company was laughing at me today. He's like, dang, Todd, you're busy. And I was like, you have no idea. Good evening, OTR Vic. Thanks for coming in, my friend. Yeah, Love's, I was going to not get into this, but maybe I should. Love's is, they're kind of an 8 to 5 shop. I guess they're okay for an oil change if you need a tire or something like that. But as many problems as I've had with TA and Petro in the past, I think we all agree they're far superior in shop and mechanical ability. Now, if I had an international, I'd probably go to Love's because they're certified to work on internationals, do international warranty work. But it seems like it's bad experience after bad experience if you go there for anything beyond an oil change or a tire. And so, yeah, that's what I would say about that. That Love's in Pittsburgh, though. I I don't even know if I'll sleep there again because I feel like they thoroughly ripped off the owner of this company. And was it my money? No. However, you guys know that I feel like part of your job as an independent contractor leased onto somebody or as a company driver is to save your company money where you can. And so, I mean, I was just as mad as he was. They didn't give him an estimate or nothing. They told him, hey, parts are going to be $1,200. He said, okay, get the part. And then, boom, the bill was outrageous when he got it. And I don't think legally they can do that, but they did. They charged him without him ever approving an estimate. And him being the good guy he is, he just went ahead and paid it. But it left a sour taste in his mouth and mine too. I wasn't happy about it. I can promise you that. And I came that close to making a negative video on that Loves. And they did end up reducing the bill by about $200. So that stopped me from making a video because under my self-imposed rules, if the other side tries to make it right, then I don't post nothing. If they'd have said go pound rocks, then yeah, I'd have made a video. But at least they reduced the bill and tried to work it out. They didn't send him pictures. We didn't get the parts so that we could look at them, make sure they were really bad. And part of me thinks, well, the trailer's in really good condition now, and part of me thinks it doesn't matter. That bill should have been $500 less than what it was. I'm not sure what this means, Red Raider. You don't need Viagra while you're on the road. Hopefully your truck doesn't develop any issues now that you'll have to idle it. Well, it's going to be a short time idle. It'll be this week. And, anytime I'm in cooler climates, like last night I was in Maryland, most of the night I was able to run with the truck off and the vents open. So anytime I'm able to do that, I'll do that. But you're right. The silent killer of all these new trucks is idling, most especially on these PACCAR engines. And so anytime I can shut it off, I will. I have it idling now. I'm sure you guys can tell. Probably a slight vibration. Reason being that I don't want y'all to see me in a sweat house pouring sweat while I'm talking to y'all. But get it nice and cold in here, and then I can shut it off for a little bit. Hey, Roger Berry, thanks for being here, man. I'm glad you're here. We're kind of going into it tonight, Matthew Miller. It's been pretty good. I have not performed, and you guys know I hold myself to a pretty high standard. I have not performed as well as I feel like I should. And so I wonder what he thinks about me. Yeah, here comes Trucker Todd. And I've been a handful. And I think he would probably call me the most unlucky guy on the planet. But it's got to turn around at some point. I had those 3 or 4 years where everything I touched turned to gold, and we got to get back to that. I've got almost everything perfect. I'm at the perfect company. I've got a great truck. Now I have a great trailer. I'm doing well on the spot market. Just got to get some little details ironed out, mostly in my personal life, and then everything should be smooth sailing. And I'm going to start doing some more recorded videos too. We'll still have these lives. I know everybody likes these, but we're going to kind of go back and get some recorded videos done too. And hopefully, I'll have those out next week. Going to have a little free time this weekend, and I'll try to get to work on that. Yeah, I couldn't remember if you sent me anything else. For those of you that have been emailing me or even sending me a message through the website, if I have not responded to your message, please message me again. I'm not trying to ignore anybody, but I know for a fact that some stuff fell through the cracks, and I know how frustrating that is. I've emailed YouTubers before, and it's frustrating when they won't take the time to answer you back. So, in this particular deal, Wesley sent me the deal about Western Flyer uh, being in a class action lawsuit, and I actually went to the website and been looking into it. I was with that company for 91 days, and I realized real quick that pretty much everything this lawsuit alleges was true in my case. I mean, everything from when I was talking to the recruiter. It was all you can go home anytime you want. That's the great thing about our truck payment. And we like you to stay out 2 weeks, but it was up to you. And I got to orientation. They said, nope, 3 to 6 weeks, which normally I would do that. But I don't like a company telling me, you've got to do that. I want it to be my choice. Hey, you might go home and, 10 days later have a doctor's appointment, need to be right back, or, something like that. So, it should be your choice if you're an independent contractor, owner, operator, whatever title you want to give yourself. And that company that we're going to talk about in a little bit, that the guy asked me about today, he thought it was a great company. He's planning to go to work there. You'll see some stuff like that in their deal. And when we get there, I'll point that out to you. So let's look at a couple more comments. That you guys are doing good tonight. We're 30 minutes in and still getting a lot of comments. Biggest problem I've seen with Loves is they're shorthanded. When you go in there, if they get a road call, it comes first. Yeah, and I would extend that to truck stops in general, and maybe even retail in general. Everywhere you go, there's not enough people working. And I know in Lubbock, fast food places that used to be, $7, $8 an hour are now paying $15, $16 an hour, and they're getting workers now. My wife has a friend that works at a Italian fast food place in Lubbock, and she makes really good money. I want to say she's at like $12 an hour, and then she makes like 300 a week in tips. So to me, that's pretty good money to be a waitress, basically. But and you got that daily cash flow. So if you have a bill that sneaks up on you or something, you got that money right there. Um, that's one thing here. I've had to do trial by fire. This company has no cash advances, no nothing like that. So and they pay after every load. So like this load that I'm picking up tomorrow evening, going to Lubbock, it's got 6 days on it, and it delivers on a Thursday at 3, which is after the cutoff. So they'll process it on Friday. So it'll be the following Monday when I get paid on it. So it's almost, what is that, over a week from now till I get that check. So it'll be a big check, but things will be pretty slim until then, I'm sure. Hey, Roger, we covered that earlier in the show. Truck's doing good. Pretty happy with it. Little issue with the APU needing a belt, but we'll get that done in the next day or two, and everything will be good, I hope. Or we may wait till I get to Lubbock next week and do it then. I think Aero Truck Sell, they have those NTP warranties. Yeah, they're terrible warranties. And I'm not as impressed with Aero Truck Sales as I thought I'd be. I contacted them before I bought my truck from Cordell. And uh, but incidentally, if you guys are interested, I got Avery's number down in the ticker. Give him a call tomorrow. Tell him you saw it on Trucker Todd. He's a pretty good old guy, and he'll get you hooked up with a truck of your own. Imagine a lease purchase without a company, and that's basically what this is. You can get a truck without a company. Go to the company of your choice. If you don't like it there, you can move to another company with a dollar balloon payment at the end. And I had a guy ask me the other day, well, why has he got a dollar balloon payment? From what I'm told, for a lease to be legal, there has to be a balloon payment of some type. So they make it a dollar. Some companies make it a ridiculous amount. I've heard of balloon payments of over $90,000. And that's tough to come up with in a 3 or 4 year lease. And so this makes it affordable. Odds are you can come up with a dollar at the end of your lease. If you can't, I bet you've got a family member that'd loan you a dollar. Oh boy, now the comments aren't working. There they go. Ah, now I get you. Now I get you. No, I'm taking the expensive drug, Ozempic. And, I'm taking it for diabetes, but I saw a billboard from my doctor when I went back. He's got one of those digital signs. Now they're giving it for weight loss. And so when I was there, I was like, "Hey, I want it for weight loss." Weight loss. And so he doubled my dosage, and hopefully, in the coming weeks, we'll see some results from that. My good friend Joe Wentz, Project TV, is here. Good evening, my friend. I thought that I was going to be off today, but boss called and said I got a load that needs to go. I'm rolling and listening. Be safe, brother. Thank you, my friend. Joe Wentz announced on his channel that he's thinking about making a trucker movie. And you guys, maybe I do got a big ego. I offered to be the leading man in that movie, and he said geographically it wouldn't work. So I don't know. Can but I'm hoping I can at least be listed in the credits as an executive producer or something like that, so that I can add it to my resume. I can say, well, I was an executive producer in that movie, and of course, I hope there's royalty checks. Who doesn't like a good royalty check? I must be in a bad area. Walked into a Love's in Highland, Texas. They have an armed security guard. It's probably people trying to strangle the cashiers because they ignore you when you walk in, or they treat you like you flipped them off or something like that. Now, there's a great question. I don't know about hotshot trucks. They do have trailers, but I believe it's mostly like reefer and dry van. But that would be a great question for him. I'm pretty sure there's no like 1 ton dualies or nothing like that there. But I can tell you it's true in Lubbock, and it's probably true where you live too. If you go down to uh, your local car lot, and I don't mean the Ford or Chevy dealer, but your local used car lot, a lot of them have financing for people with some credit issues. Now, you may have to put some money down, but just save your pennies. And, when you get a decent amount of money down, go down and get you one. I've always been kind of fascinated with Hot Shot. I'm slightly interested in it, but I've already made a commitment to this truck for the foreseeable future. So I'm married to this for now. I can't do anything else. But yeah, give Avery a call. Tell him what you're wanting to do. He used to sell cars too, so if they don't do it right there at his dealership, he can put you in contact with somebody that can help you out. And whatever you do, get a Ford. That's all I'm gonna say. Get a Ford. Hey Simon, thank you for being here. Can you say what company you're with now, or is it a secret? So for now, it's a secret. I tell you what, I'd rather do, Hal. I'd rather guys that need advice on where to work or or need kind of pointed in the general direction of what they want to do, shoot me an email at todd@truckertodd.net, or go to my website and shoot me a message there, and let's talk on the phone. The place I'm at might be a great fit for you, and I might say, yeah, come over here with me. Or there might be another company that after we talk, I think's a better fit for you, and I might can put you in contact with somebody over there. I just don't want to blanket tell everybody to come here. Just because it's perfect for me doesn't mean it'll be perfect for you. And plus, this is a really small company, and he's interested in growth, but he's interested in doing it slow. And I don't want to overload him with a bunch of applications that he's not ready for. But if we talk and I feel like this might be a good fit for you, I've already recommended one guy to him, then I might say that, or I might say, hey, have you ever heard of this company? I think this company would be a better fit for where you live and what you want to do. Yeah, Conway, $60,000 balloon payment. And how long is that lease? One of the worst I seen was, oh, what is that company? They drive kind of orange trucks. Uh, Crap. Anyway, Decker, somebody sent me some stuff on Decker, and I thought their lease was horrible. No way I would do that. The payments were high and the balloon payment was high at the end. And it was basically a company truck. There wasn't really any significance to it over a company truck. Is there any leeway when going through the DOT scales? I was 40 pounds over on steers and 100 on drives. Good things the scales were closed. So most of them, it's not a law or a requirement. Most of them will give you about 1,000 pounds. If you've got an APU, you get a 400-pound exemption. And if you was 40 off, the scales could be off that much. If even 100, they could be off that much. So I don't think anybody's going to give you any grief. But once you start getting up around 700, 800 pounds, even if they don't write you a ticket, they may pull you around back and talk to you. I'd try to get it squared away. But I mean, I've seen guys that go across the scales and they got 37,000 on their tandems. You're going to get a ticket. I had a load. You might remember my first load at F2F was like, what was it, 83,000 pounds or something. They overloaded me. And luckily I caught it. I went to the first cat scale I could because it felt heavy. And then I returned to the shipper and said, hey, some pallets got to come off. And so, uh, but yeah, 40 pounds, 100 pounds, nobody's going to mess with you. All righty. There's Red Raiders comment to Joe Webb. Wesley says, okay, I will. Good deal. Nope, I've never even heard of them. If you work there, tell me about them. Are they good? Do you like it there? As I said, I haven't looked at another company for personal reasons in at least 3 weeks because I've had the company I'm with just been great. So I haven't looked. Now I did look at this other company for this other guy today, and here in a minute we're going to jump into that because they really I was not impressed, and he's like they check all the boxes. I was like, yeah, they check all my boxes too. My bad, Todd. Cohen is the company. Not Conway. All right, yeah, and some of the guys at another company that I'm not going to call them out because they're in here all the time. Their company, it was $90,000. You drove the truck for basically 3 years, and then it was a $90,000 balloon payment. The company didn't finance it, so if you got to the end, didn't have the 90,000, you basically was forced to get a new truck or go to your own bank. But banks don't like to finance lease purchase trucks, so it's real hard to find a bank that'll do that. But anyway, let's go into this company. I really want to talk about them a little bit. Let me see if I can find his message. There's their safer score. We'll get to their safer score in just a minute. We'll come over here. If my phone will cooperate, I got to close that window for a minute. So this company that he's talking about is called B&Z Logistics out of Wright City, Missouri. They also have a mailing address in Lake St. Louis, Missouri. And I want to tell you about the company. Let's start with the safer score. You guys know when y'all ask me about a company, that's the place I start. So this company has 37 trucks and 37 drivers. Not bad. That means typically they hire owner operators that already have their own truck, or they do a lease purchase and they're keeping the trucks full. So good for them. Last year they reported mileage of 4,395,303 miles. So that's a little over 100,000 a mile, 100,000 miles a year. It's a little low, but not terrible. Okay. Now you go down here to the meat and potatoes, and for inspections, they've been inspected 50 times for vehicle. 10 of them were out of service. That puts them at 20%. The threshold's 22, so they're getting close to being at the attention of DOT. Now for driver inspections, they've had 102 and 5 were placed out of service. That's 4.9%. The threshold is 6.66. So again, they're getting right real close to the line. They're getting to the point where DOT's like, should we take a look at these guys? And they don't have anything in hazmat, which that may mean they don't pull hazmat. Now let's go down to accidents. And this is for a 24-month period prior to July 5th. They've had 2 fatalities, they've had 3 injuries, and they've had 4 towaways for a total of 9 incidents. Again, if it was a large company, it wouldn't be a big deal. When you're at a company with 37 trucks, that's not great. I would, if I was looking at this company on this and this alone, I would have some questions for the safety department. And the company I'm at, when I started there, he had one thing that concerned me on his safer score. I asked him about it. What he said made sense. And so it wasn't an issue for me. If he would have hawed around or, blew smoke at me, then I would have thought, oh, maybe I don't want to work here. But since I've been here, I've noticed nothing but a focus on safety, and not a micromanagement safety, but just be careful out there. And so I'm fine with it. When you're a small company, it doesn't take much. When you're a small company, one violation can be a lot percentage wise. When you're a mega carrier, you can get 1,000 violations and it hardly affects you at all. So it disproportionately affects smaller companies. Now, let's look at some more of this company, and I'll tell you some other problems. This is if you wanted to lease a 2019 truck from them. The truck payment is $815 a week. Now, for comparison, if you contact Avery, it's going to be somewhere between $650 and $750 a week. So, substantial savings there. You're getting $150, $200 a week head start. Now, the occupational accident and non-truck and liability, they want $175 down payment, and then they want $43.75 a week, which I'll just be honest with you, that's a little high. Occupational accident is not that expensive, and bobtail, which is non-truck and liability, is not that expensive. Physical damage, which if this was a car, it's what you and I would call full coverage, has a $200 down payment and $83.65 a week. Let's compare that to mine. Mine's like $340 a month. So it's roughly about the same. I guess it's not terrible. They've got a $5,000 escrow, which is enormous. So you're going to pay that $150 a week. Mine, for comparison, is $1,500. So if you're comfortable with a company holding $5,000 of your money for as long as you work there, then this B and Z or whatever I said they're called, B and Z Logistics, might be the company for you. I would never do that. Their maintenance escrow, you got to build it to $10,000. So now they're going to have $15,000 of your money. They're going to charge you $250 a week for maintenance. Plates, $55 a week. I just got my plates through the company in Mississippi for $1,300 divided by 52. So basically, that would be $25 a week, whereas this guy's paying $55 a week. Now, is that a ripoff? I don't know what state this company is plating the truck out of. They may be making a lot of money off of this. They may not be making hardly anything off of it. Trailer use, here's another good one. $95 a week. It's not terrible for that part, but wait, there's more. So this $95, I pay $125 a week for my trailer. So they got a $30 head start on me. But here's the fun part. They also charge you a trailer maintenance fee of 3%. My trailer maintenance is included. So you say, it's only 3%. If you gross $5,000 a week, that means $150 you're putting on top of that 95. Now all of a sudden you're paying what is that? 245 as opposed to my 150. You're paying almost 50% more than me, or possibly 50% more than me for the trailer. Now we get to the ELD. For the ELD, they want a deposit of $51.83 and they want $12.69 weekly. Mine's included. So that's $64 and something a week that they're paying for an ELD. And pre-pass, I went and got mine myself. It's $24 a month. You do have to open a $200 savings account with them. And when it gets down to $100, they replenish it. Here they're charging you a $31.42 deposit, $31.42, and then $7.25 a week. And it breaks it down that your first pay cycle will be $1,823.25. And then after that, it'll be $1,512.34 a week, which is on the high side. If you scroll down, read more of the comments, it also says that you have a balloon payment at the end of $67.50. I mentioned earlier in this video, mine is $1. And there is a limited warranty included in this deal. Again, that's for a 2019. I'm in a 2020. Here's for a 2022 International. It's a little bit different numbers. The truck payment's $815 a week for this B and Z Logistics. Looks like the occupational accident is the same. Physical damage is higher because it's a newer truck, more valuable, even though it's an International. So physical damage, $292.79 down payment and $146.39 premium per week. So that's almost double what I'm paying. Now, granted, it is a newer truck. Physical damage. Now, next is the escrow. It's the same. Maintenance is the same. Plates are the same. Trailer use is the same. Everything else is the same. Makes your first pay cycle total $1916.04. And then after that, it's $1575.08 a week. Now, here's the selling points that his recruiter sent him. So about the job, it's dry van only, 100% no touch. Drop and hook, 70% and 30% live loading. They have 85% customer-based freight and 15% broker freight. 23, 22, and 21 model truck and trailers. They don't run the Northeast coast. They have consistent home time and safe dispatch. They can offer you direct deposit as a 1099, additional stop pay and layover pay, detention pay. The truck can stay with you. Well, it should if you're paying for it. They do have a rider policy. Now, here's the first sad one. Average pay $1,800 a week. Oh, no. I read that wrong. Let me enlarge that. Average pay $1,680 a week. That's terrible. You guys saw when I was at Swift, I was taking home around $2,500 a week. And that's where I think you should be if you're doing a lease purchase. You've got taxes and things that come out of that. There's elevated risk. There's reasons that you need to be making more money. And I see the comments over there, and we're going to get to those. I'm almost done here. I just want this guy to see the problems I see with this company. They say you're going to average 2,700 to 3,200 miles a week. All right, take that 3,200 miles a week, divide it by 1,680. You're making a little over 50 cents a mile. Guess what? There's no difference between you and a company driver at that point. You might as well be a company driver, not have the headaches. Remember earlier in the show when I mentioned about companies that want to try to control your home time as an independent contractor? These guys do the same things here at B&Z Logistics. 3 weeks out required for 3 days home. That's just like being a company driver. You get 1 day off for every week out. Is that okay 90% of the time? Yeah, probably. But what if you want more time off than that? Both are scheduled and consistent, no forced over. All right, let's see. Benefits, they have time off requests to be honored with written notice and 2 weeks in advance if you need something outside of your scheduled home time. So, yeah, you guys know what I think about that. I'm just going to skip that because I really want to get back to your comments. And it's an American-owned company. So, let's see if there's anything else that I missed. Yeah, they also sent him a deal that said that you can take advantage of their 30-day program with the truck to see if it's a fit for you. During this team, their dispatch team will get to know you and how you like to run. This is the perfect time to create a relationship with dispatch and the mechanics. They pay you 60 cents a mile during that 30 days, which it's better than what you're going to make leasing their truck based on what I just saw. And minus the only detention or the only deduction is the occupational accident. So you're going to get 60 cents a mile, but they're still going to charge you that occupational accident, $45. It is what it is. Neither of those numbers make me go, oh, I think I'll quit what I'm doing and go there today. So, yep. They remind you at the end you could sell the truck, put someone else in the truck, or keep on driving it and pocket the money you're making from not payments. If you're going to do that, put it in a savings account because you're going to probably need it for maintenance. They have 5 Freightliners with around 550,000 miles on them, and they're 18 or 815 a week and a 6750 buyout. And then they have 2 2018 Freightliners that have around 600,000 on them, and they're 705 a week, and the buyout's 5640. So to a new guy, this probably looks like a great deal. You're going, wow, but it's really not a good deal. The overhead's what'll get you because these are older trucks. At some point, they're going to break down, and if they break down and you've got these high expenses, you're going to come out really far in the hole. And some companies are more tolerant than other companies about you being in the hole. I was wondering why my face was glowing. It was because of my phone screen. But yeah, it's a stressful situation. And I worked for a company back in 2001 that you could make some pretty good money there. But if the thought ever crossed your mind, you didn't even actually have to do it. If you just thought for a second, hey, I'd like to go home, you were in the hole for 6 weeks because of the overhead. And back then I was young and didn't know what I know now. And so I just accepted it and thought that's the way things were. And when I went home, I had the bill structured where I knew I wasn't going to get a check for probably 4 to 6 weeks. But anyway, let's jump back into the comments. But no, in short, no, I would not recommend B&Z Logistics based on what that driver provided me to look at and what I could find on my own on the internet. I didn't read any reviews, but I may do that later because I'm sure they're hilarious. All right, let's see here. Every time I come back from Arkansas going into Oklahoma at that rolling OK scale house, they always pull me in even when I'm empty. It's probably something to do with your company. Your company's probably had some bad interactions at that scale, and so that's why they're checking you out every time. Each time you get a connection there, though, they're going to remember that, and you may get to the point one day to where you're not getting pulled in so much. Supposed to have been Joe Wentz project, but phone changed my typing. Okay. I kind of figured that when I saw Joe Webb, but you never know. So F2F, I was only there for 3 trips. I can tell you there's a lot of good people in that office. I actually went to Chattanooga, went out to dinner or out to lunch with one of them, and got to meet everybody from the president on down. And they're good people. Uh, I would have liked to have stayed there, or at the time I would have. Now I feel like I've moved on to a better deal, but I don't have any ill will or hard feelings towards F2F, and they're uh, they're a good option for a lot of people if you know how to run the spot market. U.S. Express, 1,000 a week truck payment, 15 for fuel, 28 to 3,000 a mile a week, and you pay $1.15 a mile. You're not making money. Yeah, depending on the fuel surcharge. At Swift, you could still make money that way because the fuel surcharge was good, and they had the trucks spec'd in such a way that you were getting killer fuel economy if you're in it right. I know a lot of guys that were getting in excess of 10 miles a gallon. I had a guy from Swift called me this morning that was getting over 10 miles a gallon. Now he's driving, 60, 62 right in there. But the problem is a lot of people don't run their truck like a business. And so if you don't, it could get you. But yeah, if you ran 3,000 miles and with the fuel surcharge you were getting $1.50 a mile, that'd be 4,500. And you take out and there's more than just the truck payment. There's insurance and other things. Um, if you get a good fuel card, that can help. But yeah, you're not gonna be making 2,500 a week at U.S. Express. 1,000 plus say probably 300 a week for insurances and things like that the company will charge. That puts you at 13, 15 for fuel. You're at 2,800, and if you got 4,500, you're looking at what, 1,000, 1,500 after all the dust settles. And you can't at that point. Then the guy's saying, you can make more as a company driver. Have a point. So EDG times 3 says he pays $340 a week in trailer rent. That's honestly the highest I've ever seen. It may be a specialized trailer or something like that. I thought Roadrunners was high. It was like 225, 235 a week. And so, yeah. Yeah, I think I froze up for a second, but I think I'm back now. I had mentioned at the start of the video that I'm getting near the billing cycle on several of my phones, and so I've probably about maxed out the hotspot data. if it does completely crash, give me a minute and I'll bring it back up under another network and it'll start working again. I'm paying $550 a week for the truck payment, $192 a week for the trailer payment. Yeah, well, your truck payment is great, and even your trailer payment, it's a little on the high side. But if you're making it, that's all. That's all that matters, especially in this market. If you're at an income that you're happy with, then keep doing it. Don't be. This is not the time to be job hopping if you're getting by where you're at now. In 6 months and 8 months, maybe it will be time. But if your company's paying you, there's no funny business with your pay, and you're doing all right where you're at. I would definitely stay where you're at. So you guys stop at scales, yeah, yeah. It and I just found out this week you're supposed to have a CDL too. When did they enact CDLs? I didn't know we had to have one of those. Ah, that explains it. So Gary's running the spot market, and that's why he's doing well, even at those expenses. Yeah, there was right before I left, there was a message that came across our Zonar that said that they were getting pulled in more. I guess their safety score had gone up a little bit, and so I don't know if it's coming back down or what. But yeah, if a company, any company, I'm not just talking about Swift here, gets a bad reputation at certain scales, and I know when I was at Swift, when you went through Indiana and Georgia, it would remind you to be extra careful and do good pre-trips and stuff, because I guess they were having a a lot of issues in those two states. No, I said I wasn't doing the Tuesday show. I got to do at least one a week, and today was a little up in the air because I was doing some real short loads, and I wasn't sure if I was going to get done in time, so the show might have ran late. But I was able to come on time. That's why it's so important to be subscribed, because I'm out here working just like you guys are. And if you are subscribed, which is free to do, you receive a notification, usually about 30 minutes before the show comes on. But I always try to do it on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but around 5 p.m. Central Time. Hey, Christian's here. Glad you made it, man. Have you heard of Travel Loco Trucking? Yes. I know a lot of guys went to work there a few years ago. Coach and all of them went there, but I haven't followed them that closely to know if they're a good company or not. But they were the cat's meow a couple of years ago. That's where everybody was going. Yeah, he meant Travel Loco. Sometimes it's not the topper's fault. My spell check has been giving me fits lately. I put in a place earlier, the name of the place, and it thought I meant another word, and it switched the word on me. And I kept having to erase it and go back and type it. And finally, it gave me an option where I could click it, but I had to do it like 2 or 3 times. Gary Cook says, stay away from them. They're a ripoff. Yeah, there's some other stuff you got to look at too. Uh, Cloud Trucks approached me before I came where I'm at, and I talked to several of their drivers, and their DOT number is not real favorable with some of the brokers right now. And there's even some YouTubers talking about it, and they say it's not uncommon to be there and call a broker, and the broker say, "Oh, we can't work with you because you're with Cloud Trucks." Um, and ironically, this guy that I'm working with, he's got a perfect rating, or as close to perfect as reasonably possible, because every company I've called about pulling a load, they're like, "Give me your MC number." I give it to them. They're like, "Oh yeah, yep, you're fine." And I mean, they're like, one guy told me the other day, he's like, "I wish we had drivers like you all the time." And so it does matter where you work when you're doing the spot market and things like that. And I've talked to the owner about it. I'm like, dang, your scores are good. And he said because he's very picky in the hiring process, and he is. He interviewed me multiple times, and it was a slow process over several weeks. He doesn't just put anybody in the seat, and it we're reaping the rewards of it now because the brokers are like, oh yeah, we want to do business with you. I've heard bad things about Travel Loco. Their lease purchase is extremely high. You will never see home again. Yeah, you would like to think like Swift went through some years where people didn't think real highly of them. And then they kind of rebounded and they were starting to be a pretty good outfit. And then it kind of went to their head. And so I'm not sure where they're at now, but they're not the same place as they were the first 6 or 7 months that I was there. Much different the first 6 or 7 than it was the last 3 or 4. What is the best lease purchase out there? I'm coming back to the industry and I don't want to make a bad decision. I actually did a video. It's been a while. I may need to do another one. The very best lease purchase. It's a tough question to answer because different things are important to different drivers. For some drivers, for example, the most important thing is what kind of truck can I get? I don't care how much money I make. I want a pretty truck. And for guys like that, it's Hurricane or Western Flyer Express. Now, they're not going to make any money, but they're going to drive a pretty truck while they're going broke. For some guys, it's I'll drive a piece of junk, but I want to make a lot of money. And for them, that may be one of those Chicago based foreign owned companies. And they'll make a lot of money for a few weeks or a few months. And then the company will starve them out and put somebody else in the seat. And then you got to break it down. Some people want tanker, flatbed, reefer, dry van. So that's why I say instead of me recommending a specific company, just call me. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about what you're looking for. And I'll tell you what people have told me. Um, Obviously, for me, I think the best place is where I'm at now, but that doesn't necessarily mean it'd be the best place for you. Some people, it might be a dedicated run. I knew a guy that lived in Dallas. He thought KLLM was the cat's meow because he had a dedicated run from Dallas to Salt Lake City, right back to Dallas. Got good miles, made good money, and was home pretty regularly. That's a great run for somebody that lives where he lives. But if he lived in Charlotte, North Carolina, that'd be an awful place for him to work if he wanted to do that dedicated run. So everything is a case by case basis. And that's the great thing about trucking is there's probably a company doing exactly what you want to do. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. A cheap or free lease purchase. If you guys hear of those, I want the details. I'll make a video about it and I'll credit you as the person that gave me that information. What I've learned though is typically you get what you pay for. However, in trucking, they also sometimes overcharge you for what you're paying for, as we've seen with the B and Z that I mentioned tonight, and one guy mentioned Cohen being a ridiculous plan. So yeah, that's what I'd say about that. I'm also looking at truck movers. There you go. I met a guy one time that did that, and it can be some pretty physical work, especially if you're hauling the piggybacks. You can make pretty good money. As if you're a single guy that likes to travel, it's not a bad gig, I don't think. Exactly. If they pay you on time and they treat you like a human being and you're happy there, that's the perfect company. DIY semis here. Hey man, thanks for coming in. You come in at the perfect time. We're talking about uh, lease purchase companies, the perfect one. I'm going to guess you're not a big fan of lease purchases. I'm not anymore. I think Avery's the way to go. Do a lease purchase without the company. And that way, if things go south, you can take your toys to another playground. Also, wanted to talk to you about my APU. It's got a bad belt, it's stretched, and it's coming apart. And truck stops don't want to do them no more. They claim they don't even have the belt. So I'm probably going to have to go to Thermo King at least to get the belt and maybe have them put it on. I don't know if I can get my fat hands down in there. Do you know much about changing the belts on a Thermo King Tri-Pack Evolution APU? Yeah, I figured that's what you were going to say. I've been watching some of your stuff, and I generally I generally agree with you. Ah, here you go, folks. Some of you may want to reach out to DIY. He sells trucks to his drivers at cost. So, Christian, if you're looking for a good company, um, DIY might be what you're looking for, and he could probably you go back and watch his videos on maintenance and stuff. There's probably a lot of valuable information there that could save you some money over time. Hurricane I applied. I got hired 4 years ago. Hunt points to Los Angeles. That's a long run. Take 2,200 to that. Not money to me. I was making that as a company driver. Yeah, the thing I've heard about Hurricane as of late is they'll give you that run, and about halfway into it, they'll repower it and give it to somebody else. And it can be great if you're on like the middle part of it or something. But if you're on the California side of it, you can find yourself, getting the last 200 miles of the load and being live unloaded and live loaded, and that it can really kill your miles. One guy said that they did that to him, and he called him and they finally got him out of it. But he said he spent a couple of weeks out there just getting like 200 miles a day and almost lost his truck over it. But they do have some pretty trucks, and I do like the wood cabinets inside. I just wouldn't go broke to have one. It's not hard, but you might skin your knuckles up. Ah, I don't want to ruin these banker hands. I'm joking. No, I'll give it a shot if it's not too bad. What do you think? I don't know why it's so hard to get a belt for it though. I've gone to a TA and a Love's, and they acted like it would be an act of Congress to get a belt for it. And I'm like, I can Google Thermo King and go pick it up and bring it to you. Today I pulled a load that was just shy of $10 a mile, but it was only like 60 something miles. Wanting to know what the best trade I've had so far. DIY, are you on 10th Street? He says no, he's not on 10th Street. I would recommend going to one of his videos and leaving him a comment or seeing if his email's there and contacting him that way. But go after the show. And like I say, he's got a pretty good channel if y'all had never checked it out. Should be able to unscrew the sides and top off of it. Yeah, you can, but it's got like a metal encasing around those sides, and you got to get your hands down in there. Now, I might could fish the belt down in there. I just got to take it apart and see where the tensioner is. I probably will take a shot at it, and I may take it down to my diesel mechanic son and see if he'll take a shot at it. I just the older I get, the worse I get at doing stuff like that. I've got a Corvette sitting in my shop right now. That's a perfectly fine car that I took apart and I can't get it back together. And so it's just sitting there. All right, DIY. He wants you to email him. There's his email. And so I'll leave it up for a second so you can write it down. Give him a call and or I mean, give him an email and y'all work it out amongst yourselves. You can tell him what kind of trucks you got and what kind of opportunities and stuff like that. All right, let's jump back into it now. Have you looked to see if the serpentine diagram is still on it? No, but that part's pretty easy because the teeth side of the serpentine belt goes on the teeth side of the pulleys, and the flat side of the belt goes on the flat idler pulleys. So even if the belt came completely off, it's pretty easy to figure out. It's just those metal bracing bars that go across there under the shields. I don't know if I could get my hand and stuff down in there. I'm sure I could, enough to put it on and tighten it down. And it's probably about a 20-minute job. I want to find a place I don't want to leave, possibly even grow into a support role later on down the road. Yeah, well, DIY, he might be the guy for you. Talk to him and see, and if he's not, then get back with me, and I'll try to pair you up with somebody. I like to think of myself, I say in videos that I like to think of myself as an umpire and just kind of calling it like I see it. I also kind of think of myself as a matchmaker. And on one side, I got companies that are looking for people, and on one side, I got drivers that are looking for that perfect driving job. And I just try to make introductions, and then you can talk to people and say, "Yeah, this is a great place," or "No, they stink. I'm going to keep looking," and I'll try to help you find somebody else. But I do believe there's a seat for everybody. All right, here we go. Freight's really slow right now. I would say good freight is slow right now, but it's still out there. You just have to look for it. And I spend several hours a day looking, but speed shifter. Hey, Todd. Hey, my friend. Thank you for being here. Yeah, Walmart has the belt. Hopefully, when I get the belt off, I can have a part number on it to pair it up to. If that belt number is chewed up or wear off where I can't see that, then I might be at the mercy of Thermo King to at least get a part number. And if it's $20 or something, I'm fine. But if they start doing $75 or $100 for a belt, then yeah, I've also got a connection in Lubbock with Advanced Auto Parts, and a lot of times I can get belts there real cheap. I'm friends with the owner, or I mean, not with the owner, with the store manager and the commercial parts manager at one of the locations in Lubbock. What is your preferred oil? I'm getting my PM done and curious what you use. So, my favorite oil is Mobile Delvac. However, this truck has a sticker on the side of the frame next to the engine that says to use Delo 400. So that's what I'm going to use if possible. But I'd like to go to a synthetic oil. And so we'll see. I'm not that familiar with Delo. I'll just have to see what's available when that time comes. They say on these pack cars, I've heard as high as 65,000 between oil changes. I'm not doing that. A lot of companies say 50,000. I'm not doing that. I'm going to change it around 35, which I think's on the high side. But they are building oil better now. They're building filters better. And before, when we'd change it at 15 or 20, then we extended it to 25. I think 35 is about as far as I'm willing to go now. Michael wants to know what kind of trucking you're looking for there, Christian. If you're still here and want to answer that out here, out in the public, maybe Michael can help you. Yeah, I do need to check the pulleys. The APU I had at Dart, and granted, it was a lot older when this was back in 2013, 2014. One of the pulleys was plastic, and it constantly kept chewing up belts and chewing up belts. And it was I ended up a lot of months I'd spend 600-800 a month on APU maintenance, and so just because of that dang pulley, and I kept saying, why don't they make a metal pulley? And I know why, because they were making a ton off of service. So yeah, that's part of a belt change is inspecting the pulleys, see if any of them are warped or bent or something like that. I'm going to get a picture of that part number before it goes away. Good evening, sick Semper Tyrannus. Thanks for being here. Let me get that part number real quick and let's see if my phone will. Good grief. Well, that phone froze up. We're going to do it with this phone. I swear it's one of those days. A flash got it. Let's do it again. All right, I got it now. I'll look into that, Ramon. I guess they're the same on those newer APUs. Yeah, it's not bad at all. I was saying just for a gauge that you need to be thinking 2500 plus and not 1650 to 1800. Hey, Christian, Michael says they're looking for a step deck driver if you're interested in that kind of work. Um, hey, Michael, he put his email up a minute ago. You might email him and see what he tells you. Just kind of scroll back up in the comments. It's not too far up. If I see it, I can put it up. Yeah, I found it. I'll put it back up uh, until we get another set of comments coming through. If any of you have any good job recommendations for Christian, there's his email. Shoot him an email. Tell him what you got, what you're offering. But I think he's pretty interested in DIY's deal. And they may be talking right now because I don't see either one of them in the comments anymore. So, what else is on y'all's mind tonight? Let me tell you what's going on with me. I mentioned the load to Lubbock. It picks up in the morning, not far from here, 5 or 6 miles away. Picks up tomorrow afternoon at 5 p.m. The shipper said if I got there before that, that they'd try to work me in. So I'm going to get up in the morning. I'm going to sleep in, I ain't going to lie, and maybe go over there about noon or something, see if I can get worked in a little early. And so that's what I'm going to do. But yeah, I've got plenty of time on this load. The first stop is in Decatur, Georgia. And so it's Monday morning, so 700 and something miles away. I got plenty of time to get there. Okay, Michael, are you saying you're having a problem with the comments? They're not coming through, or what's going on? I got to bring them back up on my phone. Uh, YouTube does weird things, and when StreamYard gets in the mix, even weirder things happen. But I'm going to put Christian's email back up there for a second. Make sure everybody gets it because I really want to help everybody I can. Yeah, the comments are gone. I don't, there they are. What I did is I closed the comments and reopened them and then they showed. That may be what you have to do. But neither one of your comments are showing up yet, and they may here in a minute. I don't know what's going on. Ah, well, can you see on the screen where I put Christian's email up for you so you could email him? Boy, these lives. I was watching one the other day and that poor guy was having technical issues too. I thought I was the only one that struggled with internet issues, and I'm starting to thinking it's not the internet. I'm starting to think it's StreamYard, and it may be time to look for another streaming service because you pay them good money and then it's mediocre service most of the time. Okay, good. I'm going to go ahead and take his email down then if you see it. And yeah, just email Christian whenever you feel like it, have time, and I'm sure that he'll appreciate the recommendation. I'm going to take a drink. My throat's getting dry. If y'all think of anything else you want to talk about, any questions you got, throw them up there. We'll get to them. There is a blitz that started or that's starting this weekend. They're going to be looking for tailgaters, speeders, things like that. So you guys be extra careful. It's coming up here really quick. I don't have the exact dates in front of me. You should always be looking out, but just be extra careful. Times before when they'd let you get away with 3 to 5 miles an hour over the speed limit, they may use it as an excuse to pull you over now. Make sure you're doing the speed limit or uh, or close to it so that you're not a target. Most of the time, the cars end up being the ones that get hammered for tailgating and speeding. But still, there's going to be a larger law enforcement presence, and just be aware of that and be careful. Yeah, Napa's good. We used Fleet Pride for my starter, and they had some pretty reasonable prices compared to everybody else. Um, so I'll be doing some calling around, and like I say, it'd be I don't have anything really planned for Saturday, so maybe I can maybe I can do that on Saturday. And I got to see my son while I'm there, so I may just take the truck down to him and the two of us knock it out real quick. What about his taxpayer having to pay for a lawsuit that was brought against? I don't know anything about that. Can you give me some details? I haven't heard anything about that. Admittedly, I've been out of the loop, out of the news lately. That's one of the things I had mentioned earlier in the show that I'm going to try to get back to doing some recorded videos. And so hopefully I'll be more into the trucking news world and I'll be able to go back to doing news and opinion, which is what this channel really grew on. And then I can still do the Tuesday and Thursday shows to kind of interact with you all as well. What else? We're almost at an hour and a half, and I'm wide awake tonight, so we can go as long or as short as you want. When we finish this up, I'm going to take a couple of phone calls and then try to play a video game or two since I don't have to be up at the crack of dawn. I had several days this week where I had to be up early, and I mean early. And you guys know I'm not a morning person, so it's going to be nice to sleep in. Would I still recommend Swift for a lease purchase? For Swift, right now, I would be in a holding pattern. I'd wait and see. And what I mean by that is they're going through a lot of stuff right now, trying to decide what future policies are going to be. And I would wait and see how that plays out. For example, they're still trying to put their little load board together. And right now they're saying, well, when I was beta testing it, let me back up. They were paying for the first 100 miles of deadhead. They're saying when they release it to everybody, they're not going to pay any deadhead. Now, some of you are going to point out, well, Todd, you're on the spot market. You don't get paid deadhead. And that is true. But I'm able to negotiate my rate. And I know that going in. When you're on their deal, they're paying you mileage. So that 15 or 20% of deadhead that you're normally getting paid for, you're not going to get paid for when they release it to everybody. They've received a lot of backlash over that. So at some point soon, they may reverse their decision. That's just one thing. Also, they lost several major accounts of freight, which is normal. Again, I'm not bad mouthing the company. Um, Mega carriers lose accounts and gain accounts all the time. Right now, guys are saying it's kind of hard to get freight there. It does seem to be picking up over there. But if you're in a position where you could wait a month or two and then take a look at Swift, they might be a better option. I'd hate for you to go there now and really struggle for a couple of months while Swift tries to figure out what kind of company they're going to be. They made 140 billion off of COVID-19. They stole part of their vaccine from another drug company. Yeah, that I probably shouldn't comment on legal issues that I don't know very much about. So I'm going to hold off from commenting. I say this from time to time in videos, but I guess it's worth repeating so I don't get sued. I am not a lawyer. And I know that comes as a shock to a lot of you guys because I come across as a smart guy, but I don't have legal training. And I couldn't represent any of you in court, even if I believed you were innocent. While I do have a layman's knowledge of the law, I'm by no means an expert, nor do I claim to be an expert. So, yeah, I probably will withhold my opinions on pending lawsuits that I know very little about. But I do appreciate you sharing the information. And I am curious about it. I'll look into it. I didn't take any of the jabs, so it doesn't affect me either way. And as for the government spending taxpayers' money, they're pretty good at that anyway. If it ain't COVID, they'll find something to spend it on. And it doesn't seem to matter which party's in office, they're both pretty good at spending money. Yes, sir. I'm sorry I couldn't give you a more definite answer, but if you want to email me, we can talk about it some more. I just I wouldn't go today, but maybe in a few weeks, in a couple of months, who knows? That was one of the frustrating things about being a YouTuber and working for that company, and I'm still wearing one of their shirts. Uh, is that they would say, all right, this is the policy. For example, your contract says that it's up to them if they'll finance your balloon payment at the end of your contract. Well, the vice president of owner operators, who I would think would be an authorized representative of the company, said, "Yeah, we're doing that. I've got the video clip of it. I put it out." Less than a week later, they came back and said, "Nope, we're not doing that." Now, did they do anything wrong ethically? No. It says in the contract it's at their discretion. But it put me in a spot because I had just done a video saying at the end of the term they'll finance your balloon payment. So I would say if you were going to go to Swift, get a truck like I did and go there, and that way, if you don't like it, you can leave and you still got your truck. As for if it's a good deal or not, it really depends what the spot market does. If the spot market rates go up, then you can make more money on the spot market. If spot market rates go down, you can make more money on a mileage contract like Swift. And of course, you're always the deciding factor, how business savvy you are and how good of a driver you are. All of that factors in as well. Me either. Yep, exactly. Don't touch it. You too, Ramon. Thanks for coming in, man. I'm sorry I got long winded tonight, but I always appreciate you being here. For the guys that have to cut in and out early, you can always catch the replay. That's what a lot of you do. Typically, by the end of the show, we've had a total of about 250 watch usually. And usually within the first 24 hours, we're around 500 or 600. So that tells me that, what, 2/3 of you are watching on the replay. And even though you don't get to participate in the comments, I just appreciate you giving me some of your time and being here. And so a lot of the information you're going to want is in the description of this video. How to get a hold of me, what the website is, how to get a truck like mine, how to get, all that stuff's in there. And so check that out. It's also on the website. And so I'm going to be updating the website soon. There'll be more information on there. It hadn't changed in a few weeks. Also, there's a Trucker Todd Facebook page. I hope you'll join me there. There's Trucker Todd Instagram, Trucker Todd TikTok. All of that's in the description. You can join me on all those. There's even a Trucker Todd LinkedIn. Now, So I don't know a lot about all those. I'm still learning, but they're all out there for your viewing pleasure if you want to join me on those platforms. RST is merged with the other company. Little guy is not the recruiter no more. What happened to little guy? Where's he at now? Todd, which truck is that? Not an 80-inch. This is the Kenworth, and I think the sleeper's a 76-inch. It's a lot bigger than that 670 Volvo I was in prior to this. And it's got the diamond tucked interior, and it's a pretty nice truck. It's got the swivel seat, even though I'm not sitting in it. I probably should have tonight. Maybe Tuesday video. Well, Tuesday I'll be home. I don't know where we're going to shoot that one yet, but we'll see. I see truck drivers speeding all the time, especially in construction zones. Yeah, and that's why I wanted to kind of warn everybody in here because for the next week and a half or so, you don't want to be doing that. They're going to be looking and they're going to be ticket happy, and it's just a simple way to avoid it. Just slow down. There's enough idiots out here. Let the idiots get the tickets, and you live to fight another day. So, spot market is basically getting loads from brokers, and it's a big, lengthy deal of how loads come to the spot market, how they get there. I've heard competing theories, but for there's generally two types of freight. There's contract freight and there's spot market freight. And contract freight is usually what these big companies sign contracts for a set rate, for a set period of time, 6 months, a year, whatever. And spot market freight is freight that doesn't make it there, that goes over to the spot market and people bid on it. And that's how that goes. So, yeah, I hope I answered your question. I could go into more depth if I need to, but basically, that's what it is. It's picking your own freight off of load boards. I worked at WFX 90 days, and honestly, I would have quit the first week if I could have. It was terrible. I say terrible, that's an exaggeration. It was terrible compared to what they told me it was going to be. You know, they were saying you're going to average 2,300 a week, and you'd average 8 to 1,200 a week. Said you could go home every 2 weeks more often if you needed to. Got there, they said, nope, mandatory stay out 3 to 6 weeks, and then we'll control how long you can go home. And so it was just a lot of misrepresentation. The reason I stayed 91 days is I misread my contract. My contract said if you quit in the first 90 days, it was cheaper than if you lasted 90 days. So I read it backwards. I stayed 91 days thinking I was getting out cheaper, and I ended up paying a few $100s more than if I'd have quit, 3 days earlier. Anyway, my final check with them, I didn't leave in the hole. I left with like a $75 check after they took out all their cleaning and reconditioning fees and all the crap companies charge. But they email me, text me several times a week telling me I qualify for their Top Gun program, and I could go there and get I think it's a 2022 Peterbilt 389 or whatever their new truck is that they have over there, big hood truck. And that'd be a great truck to have, but on their deal, mileage pay, it's about fuel efficiency, and you wouldn't get any fuel economy out of that truck. Big old heavy truck. And they make you mandatory pull reefer when you get that truck. And I think there'd be a lot of reefer loads you couldn't haul just because you were too heavy. It's not a flat top. What it is, this is the top bunk is down, and I got a bunch of junk up there, and I got the net holding it in. I'm just sitting on the bottom bunk, but I can see I can lift it. If I was going to go back on the company side, where would I go? If I wanted to be a company driver again, I had a company that I worked for in Lubbock, and pulling groceries, and I was home every other day, and I made decent money. The reason I quit doing that was I was working there. I had really good health insurance, but it was really expensive, and I mean like $1,200 or $1,300 a month. And my wife had cancer at the time, and we needed good health coverage and a steady income. We about starved to death during that time, but it was a great company, great people. Now she's cancer free, everything's good, and if we'd still need health insurance, we could probably do a lower tier health insurance. But if I ever went company again, I'd probably go back with them. I still see and talk to them from time to time. Uh, Several of the people, well, their terminal's right across the street from where I'll be delivering when I go to Lubbock. I'm sure that while I'm there, I'll run into some of them, and we're still friends. And as recently as about a year ago, we had conversations about me going back there, and I told them no, that I was happy doing what I was doing. But yeah, that's what I'd probably do, is work for that company again. I did several years there. I worked at WFX for a year. Oh man, did you have a similar experience? Was it was it like they said, like the stuff they promised you is nowhere close to reality? Because that's basically what the lawsuit alleges that I've read so far. Hope you didn't spend that last check in one place. No, that was basically gas money to get home. Yeah, Robbie, you've got the process backwards. You're supposed to fall asleep while watching the show. That's what most people do. But no, I'm just joking with you. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for coming in, man. Talking to little guy, or talking about little guy. Long Nose Pete has the aerodynamics of a brick flying through the air. Yeah, it sure does. And a lot of guys are saying they're getting around 6 miles a gallon. And again, if you just want to drive a pretty truck, same thing with Hurricane, same deal. Hurricane might actually be a little better because they have a deal that's I-40 South and things like that. You could stay in better weather. When I worked there, I had a dedicated deal out to California and back. And so I had a lot of flat roads. It wasn't a terrible deal, but can you live on $800 or $900 a week just so you can have a pretty truck? And why would you do that if you can make, 13, 1,500 a week as a company driver and probably still get a pretty truck? Hey, Daryl, thanks for coming in. Glad you're here. I go through, I go through different opinions on that. I love the Northwest, all the trees, the mountains, Montana, but I love being in Texas. And I would be super happy if I never ever had to leave Texas. And that will never happen, because even if I just ran intrastate, which is within the state of Texas, all the time, I still have to go out of Texas when I do truck shows and stuff like that. So I'll always have to do some degree of traveling around the country. But yeah, I like the Northwest. It's real pretty up there, and I love going through Moab, Utah. That's probably one of my favorite places. I'd love to drive my pickup over there and do some off roading. Take the travel trailer and park it and spend a week there. Probably going to be a long time before I can do that. I stayed out for 3 weeks. Yeah, they said that was mandatory, and they really wanted 6. And it was a point of contention because I was like, hey, my car's still outside. I can leave. You guys told me 2 weeks. And then they're like, oh, if, when you need to go, you can put in a home time request. And that was my first lease purchase, or second lease purchase I'd ever done. So I was by no means an expert at that point. Really like Kansas and Oklahoma. Yeah, Oklahoma, in large part, especially the people and the surroundings, look a lot like Texas to me. Does anyone have knowledge on B and G or B and Z Logistics out of St. Louis? Yeah, I did. Probably at about the 20 mark of the show, I did a whole deal on them and talked about them. You can kind of scroll back and check it out. But I believe you're the one that sent me the stuff on them, and I looked them up, and it's all there. Um, just rewind this video to the start, and it's probably at about the, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 mark. Yeah, the deal about Hurricane and Western Flyer Express both. You don't run into anybody at a truck stop that goes, "Hey, I paid my truck off at Hurricane. I got a title." "Hey, I paid my truck off at Western Flyer. I got a title." What ends up happening is when they get near the end of the lease, they either get talked into getting a new, prettier truck or they get starved out. And so I'm sure there's one or two guys that got a title, but it's like winning a lottery. It's not a regular occurrence for somebody at those two companies to end up with a title in their hand. And some of you are going to jump on the bandwagon and attack Swift, attack Dart, attack Roadrunner, previous places I've worked. All of those companies, you can go into their driver's lounge and meet drivers that have paid off oftentimes multiple trucks. And so I'll say this, it's not common anywhere because what most drivers don't stay at any company 3 to 5 years. And so that wipes out a lot of people. But there are people that do it. And you just don't seem to see it at Hurricane or Western Flyer. And I know as soon as I say that, uh, I'm going to get 10 emails from guys. "Oh yeah, I've paid off 2 trucks here, and I make $1 million a week." And I would say good for you, but you're definitely in a very small minority. I brought this up because this is kind of funny. You want to get a load out to Area 51. I was actually passing through there on that little road at the time when all the protesters were at the gate and they were going to storm Area 51. And I was at Roadrunner at the time, and I actually did a video uh, telling people how stupid that would be. And then they all chickened out. But yeah, I was there that week that all that happened, passing through there. I believe I was on my way to Las Vegas, if I remember correctly. Or no, I was going up in the Northwest somewhere. I was, and we'll check it out at the 20-minute mark. All right, good deal. You have got to have at least one poster child. Yeah. I hear for the company drivers, GP Transco is one of the best right now. They won't hire from Louisiana, though. I've got a very good friend who wants to remain anonymous that'll be going to GP Transco later this month. I think around the 20 something, 27th, 28th, something like that. Whenever he gets there and starts making paychecks and stuff, we'll ask him how it's going. I don't know if he'll come on camera, but maybe he'll put in the comments how he likes it. He's still at his other company right now, and so he wants to remain anonymous. But when he gets to GP Transco, hopefully I'll have some information I can share with y'all. And he's a real honest guy. If he tells you it's great, then it's great. If he tells you it's crap, then it's crap. Man, and that's surprising because little guy was the face of that company in a lot of ways, and for him to leave that and go do wood chips, something significant must have happened. But good for him. I had never watched one of his videos, but I know a lot of guys like him. A lot of guys talk about him, and I wish him the best. He may like it better. Is he in a day cab and home every day now, or do they? I don't know how they run those wood chips all over the place. I would guess. Man, I can't believe it. We're almost at the 2 hour mark. Time flies when I'm on here with you guys. What else have y'all got for me tonight? If we don't get anything else, we may wrap it up here in about 9 minutes when we hit the 2 hour mark. He's home every day. Well, then that's a great deal, especially if he's making enough money to be happy with it. That's what matters. You know, I've said it in the videos a lot. If you make $600 a week and you're happy, then I'm happy for you. If if you make 1,500 a week and you're not happy, then I want to try to make you make more, help you make more. But if you're making 6,000 a week and you're still not happy, then I need to help you manage your expectations a little bit. But either way, I want everybody to have a satisfying work experience. You're having too much fun, Todd. Yeah, I'm trying to. I you know, I had a Love's the other day. I was at a Love's and I was walking around and I didn't even know it. I had a big grin on my face. And one of the people came up to me, one of the workers there, and she's like, "You just look so happy." And I was like, "Why do you say that?" She said, "You're walking around with the biggest smile on your face." And she said, "Most of the drivers are staring at the ground. They're mad. They got a sour look on your face, on their face." And she said, "You look so happy." And I said, "Well, I work for a great company. I got a good truck. Things are going good." I was like, "There's been some setbacks lately, but for the most part, life is good. I'm happy." And she's like, "I wish we had more people like that." And so to me, that was like the ultimate compliment, that people can tell I'm happy, that I'm joking, I'm laughing without me having to say it. So here's a good one. I get this question a lot. Anyone worked for SOAR? So SOAR used to be, if I, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, Kelly, Kelle, and now they're SOAR. They bought out a company that used to have a big terminal in Lubbock that uh, I worked for right before the buyout. I knew it was coming and I got out. Robert Heath, and they uh, they do a lease purchase. It's a terrible one. You never own the truck. They tell you that up front. Um, they used to not have any Texas freight. They're starting to. They don't get great reviews online, but I haven't talked to any drivers firsthand that work there. Good thing you don't have to be up at the crack of dawn. Yeah, I wouldn't be doing this if I had to be up at the crack of dawn. Dick Simon. So, Dick Simon, there's actually several different ones now. And a guy that used to come in here a lot, Freedom, had talked about it. So, the kids sold the original Dick Simon, and there's another one called Simon Trucking. There's several Dick Simons now, basically, and it's kind of a complicated mess. The kids have started another company that I think it's called Simon Trucking or something like that. So there's several of them, and that's probably a rabbit hole I need to stay out of too. I wish Freedom was here to answer that question. That what happened to Kelly? I'm not sure, to be honest. Christian, check out Creek Carrier. Yeah, the thing about Creek Carrier that everybody says is they like to micromanage, to the point that if you're on a 10-hour break, at 10 hours and 1 minute, they're calling you asking you why you're not driving. You're driving along, you pull into a rest area to go to the bathroom. They're contacting you asking you why you stopped. Now, this may be the drivers reporting this, may be drivers that they've had trouble showing up on loads on time or oversleeping or things like that. But when I start hearing micromanagement, I run for the doors. Yeah, that doesn't sound terrible. That doesn't sound terrible. It's just, what is your definition of micromanagement and how much can you put up with? Um, So let's do the math on this though. That phone's froze up, so I got to do it on this one. Let's say I always do these deals on 2,800 miles a week because everybody likes 3,000, but you're going to go home and you need an average. And I probably should really do it at 2,500, but we'll do 2,800 miles a week times 25 cents. That's $700 a week plus the 300. So you're paying 1,000 a week for the truck. It's actually a little on the high side, but um, that plus the micromanagement would make it a no deal for me. Of course, I got my own truck now, and I did look at them for that. They got a big account in Lubbock where I could probably get on a dedicated deal and be home a lot. But just the micromanagement, the more guys I talked to and heard about that, the less interested I was in them. Anyone know anything about Sky Transport? Now, I don't know anything about them. Arter Express is not bad, but they also micromanage. Yeah, they have a bad reputation right now, and we could debate the reasons for that, if it's justified, if it's not justified. But I haven't met anybody that was just tickled pink happy there. And maybe it's just a bunch of disgruntled drivers, maybe it's the market, but they wouldn't be on my list of places to go. You keep 100% of the fuel surcharge. That's pretty common at a lot of companies, though. And you're basically taking their word on that, because unless you actually see the rate con, you don't really know if you're really getting 100% of the fuel surcharge. You're just kind of having to take their word for it. You use 2,500 miles a week. That's not bad. That's not bad. Oh, so you weren't talking about Crete, you were talking about SOAR. Yeah, 1,000 a week for a truck that you'll never own. And they tell you that they don't have an option to buy at the end of the lease or nothing. I don't know why anybody would make a truck payment on something they're never going to own. You're basically what you get accused of, being a company driver making the truck payments, because you're going to pay on that truck till they tell you to stop paying on it, and then they're going to put you in another one and you're going to start paying again. What is the year of the truck? Who are you talking to, Michael? Mine's a 2020. SOAR has all different ones. Seems like they were mostly 2020 through 2023, if I remember correctly. It's been a while since I talked to them. Christensen, yeah, we've talked about them on here. They've got their good and bad points. I'm not going to get on here and bash them, but they've definitely got some loaded trucks and pretty equipment. But they've got their good and bad points. They say you work less, you pay less. Yeah, but you shouldn't have a business where you're solely focused on paying less. You should have a business where you're worried about generating revenue. And working less doesn't generate revenue on a mileage pay plan. Now, doing what I'm doing on the spot market, working less can potentially pay more if you get a good pay and load. They're just harder to find right now. But yeah, saying that's how, if I was a spin doctor, that's how I would spin it. I would say, you work less, you pay less, but you also make less. Keep that in mind on a mileage based contract. I'm at 695 a week. I'm making it pretty easy. There's guys with SFI trucks doing 1,300 a month that are making it. But the problem is, you go to SFI, you get a brand new truck, and then something breaks on it, which is real common. They all have factory bugs. And they go, oh, we don't have any parts. It's a brand new truck. It's going to be 3 months. And, SFI is not going to postpone 3 months worth of payments, or even 3 weeks probably. They might do a week here and there, something like that. But even if they do, you're going to end up being in a deeper hole. They're going to go, all right, we're going to side note all this money you owe us. So now you owe us 1,300 plus another 500 towards your side note. Now we need 1,800 a week. And so you're working for nickels and dimes. And I think, like Gary's saying here, the cheaper truck payment you can get, the easier it is to make it. Even at 600 a month, he has $100 or a $95 a week head start on me. So that might be significant. It might not be significant. It depends what kind of freight we're hauling, what we're both doing, things like that. Yep, exactly. I'm talking to Avery about a truck. Good deal. Yep, that is what I would recommend. Yeah, and who knows? At some point, you have to, oh, just kind of jump in the water and take your chance. It's like going to a swimming pool and knowing the water is going to be cold. Buying a truck, being an owner operator, it's the same thing. Um, Everybody's going to tell you, don't do it, don't do it. You might drown. There might be something in the water, a shark or a snake or something. But you just have to take your shot. And if you fail, try again. If you succeed, tell others how you did it. Try to help others succeed. That's all any of us can do. But no matter what you do, you're not going to dot all your I's and cross all your T's. You're going to miss something. You're going to learn something. Um, you guys know I was pretty experienced at it, and I can tell you the last 3 weeks have been very humbling for me. Uh, so that's what I would say about that is just take a chance. And you've been pretty successful, Christian, in real estate and some other things. So you know all about taking chances, and you're a smart guy. You got a business mind. I think you're going to do fine. And the great thing that's available to you now that wasn't available when I started is there's YouTube. So I'm not talking about me even. Get on here, get some advice, get 2 or 3 opinions, and kind of weigh it with your common sense and figure out what's best for you. Yeah, I knew you meant 600 a week. No problem. That's why I gave my weekly number. I knew what you meant. You had a grin on your face and didn't know it? That's awesome, Todd. Yep, God is good. I agree. All the time. I saw a guy on YouTube, he bought a semi truck for Hot Shot. Yeah, and I asked about this when I got my tags, or when I was getting the title transferred, I mean. And there's semis pulling travel trailers, like even into the place where I'm at. Occasionally there's a guy that'll he drives a Volvo and he'll pull in his travel trailer and park it. And I asked them, how do you plate that? Because it's technically private use, but does he have to get commercial plates? And I really couldn't get a straight answer that I was comfortable with. I might ask the owner of the company I work with. I bet he knows. But that's what I do when I don't know the answers. I ask people that know more than I do about some of these things. Well, if that's your goal, is to be able to go home whenever you want, I recommend company driver dedicated, because um, having a truck is being married to it. You've got to, just because you're off, you may have something you got to fix. I mentioned I'm probably going to have to work on my APU when I'm at home. And so keep that in mind. You've always got that payment. You might go home for a week, come back out, and your truck break on the first trip out. And you got to be ready for that. And that's why I'm working so hard right now, because I'll be honest with you, I'm not ready for that right now. If my truck broke right now, I'd be screwed. And so I'm working just as hard as I can, as smart as I can, trying to make the best. And the market's not very forgiving right now. You can still make money in it, but you got to work hard and you got to really watch everything. The good news is, if you can survive this market, then when things get good, you're going to really flourish. And like we was talking about earlier, I'm going to take this down so everybody can see the website. Uh, like we were talking about earlier, no matter what's going on in the world, you need to be walking around with a smile on your face, with a positive attitude, and uh, people need to be able to see it on you even without you saying it. Man, there's a guy that's that's happy at his place in life, happy with the way things are going, things like that. Louisiana is so tough for dedicated. I don't think so. For example, I know Swift had a dedicated, or Dart, one of them, either Swift or Dart, had a dedicated out of Opelousas, Louisiana. I think it was Dart now that I think of it. So that's part of it, just finding out what's in your area, what's available. I bet there's more dedicated in that area than what you realize, depending on where you live. JB Hunt has a lot of dedicated accounts, and they have 360 load. Yep, that's one of the load boards I run. Um, I don't know if I'd recommend them or not. We got a guy that came on one of my lives, and he was working with them, and he wasn't real happy. And I hadn't heard from any more JB Hunt guys, so maybe some of them are in here tonight, and they'll give us more information. It put your comment twice. The only bad thing about dedicated runs, they may never last long. That's why I like OTR. Yeah, and I had the first time I worked for Swift back in '96, I got on a dedicated run. For almost 4 years, I did that dedicated run and going to the same place every day. After a while, it does get kind of monotonous and boring, and you kind of want to stretch your legs and go somewhere else. So that's what I would say about that. Dedicated runs definitely have their pros and cons. You kind of get your same stops that you stop at the same places. You get to know people. Same thing with that company job I had where I was going to the grocery stores. I got to where when I'd come in there, it was like when Norm walked into Cheers and everybody go, Norm. When I'd walk into the grocery store, everybody, hey, Todd, what's up? How's it going? How's your family? How's this? And I would learn about their lives, and it was kind of fun. But after after you do it for a couple of years or whatever, you're like, man, I'd like to see some different areas. I went and took my background check to do hazmat. Lots of oil and gas stuff near New Orleans. Yeah, yep, there is a lot over there. I just, the company I'm with, he doesn't want us doing hazmat stuff, and I let my hazmat go back when they started all the fingerprinting and all of that. And I just had never had a desire to get it back. When you have your hazmat, if you're pulling a hazmat load, even if you get a green light on your pre-pass, you still have to pull into the scale. And I just don't like having the extra scrutiny, having to do all this extra stuff you got to do with hazmat. The liability if there's a leak or a spill. I just for a nickel or something, and I know Swift said less than I think 3% of their loads are hazmat. So it wasn't worth it for the expense, even if the company reimburses you and everything. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, I think a lot of people did. Can you haul alcohol or beer? Yeah, he's got a list in our permit book. It depends on the state where it picks up, where it's going, what states you're going through, and all that. For the most part, I just avoid alcohol loads unless it's one I would absolutely need for some reason, just because they're usually cheap and heavy, and so I hadn't had too much desire to do that either. But if I needed to get home for something and there was one and it met the criteria it needed to make for me to pull it, then I would do one in a pinch, but not regularly. I'm running Costco with Swift for a half a year now, Maryland to Pittsburgh every day. Tired of it, LOL. Yeah, they lost their one in uh, where was that? Minnesota. Uh, they lost it to Schneider, and like I said, that's no need to panic. They may get it back in 6 months. They may pick up some other accounts to replace it. But it was a big account for them. They had like 150 trailers there. They had a lot of drivers on it, and I know I hated to see them lose it. I pulled a lot of loads out of there, even though I wasn't on their dedicated account. You'd pull it to the stores, and then you'd backhaul pallets or whatever the store had, trash and or not trash, but like plastic bags and stuff like that. And you got paid loaded miles both ways, so it was a pretty good deal. But they don't do that no more now. I guess Schneider takes it over in September. Beer runs are heavy, yes they are. And if they're not loaded properly or you don't strap them good, you got a mess on your hands. I picked one up at Swift off a yard, a T-called one, and the driver didn't put any straps on it. He just a local driver picked it up, drug it to the yard. It was already sealed and everything, so I couldn't inspect it. I got out to Phoenix with it, and I opened the door, and it was a tidal wave of just alcohol going everywhere. And it took them about 4 hours to unload it. Swift paid me detention and everything because it wasn't my fault. I had no way of knowing it wasn't strapped. They won't let you break the seal and check it. And who knows, it could have already been knocked over by the time it got to the yard where I picked it up. I think I picked it up in Albuquerque at the yard there and took it to Phoenix. But it's amazing that guys don't secure their loads better. Hazmat opens up more load options, but pay not much more. Maybe a few more, but even on the load boards, it's not a large percentage of loads that you see on there that are hazmat. Swift does Costco's out of Morris, Illinois. Yeah, I know the Costco in Lubbock. Schneider handles that one. And at one point, I thought, man, it'd be cool to get on that Schneider account and do the Costco stores in Lubbock because Costco's are great to pull loads for. And even calling Schneider, I couldn't find out which division handled it. I would have had to stop a driver and ask him. It looked like maybe it's just a company driver deal. I wanted to thank you, Todd, for just being here for the drivers and being a good friend. I appreciate that, man. I try. Sometimes I don't know if I help or hurt, but I really do try to help. And I always feel bad when I miss a call or an email, but I really do the best I can. I've pulled FedEx and UPS loads. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever pulled directly for them. I've done like some U.S. mail loads that were basically junk mail. What do I think is going to happen with yellow? One or two things is going to happen with yellow. Either yellow's going to go belly up, or yellow's going to get bought out. And there's a host of reasons for it. If you read media reports, they want to blame the unions, and definitely there's some blame that you could put on the unions, but also you got to put the leadership of yellow on the hook too. They've been giving themselves these enormous bonuses and doing all of this stuff, and they shouldn't be doing it if the company's in financial straits. And but in all cases, the people that are going to get screwed the most are going to be the warehouse people and the drivers. And no matter which circumstance happens, there's going to be some warehouse workers and some drivers that get screwed in the deal. And it's a shame. It's a shame. Yellow has these enormous pensions that are coming due, and they're a top heavy company. You know, the guy that used to be the president at Roadrunner when I was there, really smart guy. He did a YouTube video talking about being asset light, meaning not having a lot of money tied up in assets. And that's what Yellow needs to do. They need to get rid of a lot of assets. I know they're selling off some of their terminals and things like that, but they've got to get leaner and meaner and more efficient. But either way, I think you're looking at a buyout or something along that lines. Uh, I don't think they're going to just close the doors and lay everybody off. They're almost too big to fail. Somebody's going to want them, but somebody's going to want them with all that debt and overhead that they've got. Good thing is you never worry about parking your truck. You can stay at Costco or you can stay at the yard. They have parking at Costco. Yeah, they sure do. And it's not bad. They've got some, they don't let you use the facilities inside. They got porta potties, but they're actually pretty clean. And it's not a bad place to stay. I just always made sure I had plenty of food and supplies in my refrigerator and I'd stay there. Yeah, when yellow drivers retire after 30 years, they draw $3,600 a month. Yeah, and the sad thing is a lot of them are probably going to lose those pensions or those pensions are going to get reduced. This is going to be a bad deal. 9,000 drivers may lose their jobs. Yeah, and even if they don't, a lot of them are going to quit when there's a change. Old Dominion should buy them out. I'll tell you who may get them, and that's Swift Transportation, not Swift. Swift has had an interest in LTL. They bought AAA Cooper and some companies like that, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if Swift is in negotiations with them right now to buy them. Also, you got a lot of companies, ABF. You've got, I mean, there's a lot of LTL companies that might have an interest in them. Yellow Freight sounds like they have the same management as Celadon. Celadon's management was crooked. Unfortunately, Celadon went under. Yeah, I remember because while I was at DART, I had a truck that I was buying from Quality Leasing, and you had to go to the Celadon yards to get that truck serviced. And I remember guys sleeping on the sidewalk. It looked like a homeless encampment at Celadon. Guys sleeping in the break room because they weren't allowed to idle their truck. Your truck speed was set based on your idle time. And so these guys would just lay and sweat and sleep trying to get their truck speed up. And so you just, man, I thought those poor guys, when I was there one time, a guy pulled a knife on one of the office people. They had the staff there. And I'm talking about the location that was in Waxahachie, Texas. It was also a hassle because even though the truck was through Quality, which was one of their companies, and they were servicing it, they wouldn't let me bring a DART trailer on their yard. So I had to go to Lancaster, drop my trailer, drive to Waxahachie, get my service done, drive back to Lancaster, pick my trailer up. It was just a headache. Also, if you broke down, they would pay for the tow of the truck, but not the trailer. So when I broke down, I'd have to call Celadon On-Road, and they would send a tow truck out for the truck, bobtail. And then I'd have to call DART, and DART would have to call a tow truck for the trailer, which DART would always pitch a fit about it. And of course, the tow trucks don't show up at the same time. So then you got the dilemma where DART doesn't want you to leave the trailer on the side of the road, and the tow truck driver doesn't want you to sit there or don't want us to sit there and wait for the other tow truck. So he's like, hey, we got to leave. And DART's going, no, you can't leave. The tow truck's not there yet. It was just a headache waiting to happen. I think I saw your old truck 4th of July at Costco. It's going to be almost impossible to know because they changed the truck number on them when they come in. Some guy came in here a couple of videos ago claiming that he had my old truck, and I don't know if that's a prank or what. I'd like to know who has it, how it's going, and I'm sure they told whoever got it this is Trucker Todd's old truck, because it had been video documented of how well I took care of it, and it was a good truck. It's going to make somebody a good truck. Exactly. That was my point, Michael. Who wants all that overhead? And there's got to be, probably the way it works is, and again, I'm not a lawyer. Let me remind everybody. I know some of you think I am, but they probably have to file bankruptcy and then somebody buy them as a part of the bankruptcy to get some of that debt removed. And the company that buys them will probably have to absorb some of the debt, but hopefully not all of it. Otherwise, they close completely, and that would be a bad situation. Here's another one: UPS strike may happen. Well, that would be bad too, especially in this market. I mean, it'd be good for the rest of us, but it could be a death blow to UPS. Um, they they're like every other company right now. They're barely making it by, razor thin margins, and they need to be turning a profit as well. They don't need half their guys going home and them having to have third party carriers carry their stuff. I don't think unions have a place anymore in an Amazon world. Probably, they definitely don't have as predominant of a role as what they once did. There was a time, you talk about in the Industrial Revolution, you probably needed unions back then, but I just don't know how necessary they are in this world, in this day and age. I don't see a lot of black Freightliners at Swift. Well, mine wasn't black. It's actually the same color as my KW. It's a really dark blue, almost like a blueberry color. So it looks black in some settings, but it's really a dark blue if you get up close to it. I wish somebody would buy out the United States Post Office. Amen. It's the same problem, and I'm trying to stay off politics. So, you guys that disagree with me, don't get mad. Uh, the post office has the same problem that PBS has. PBS has some good shows, Sesame Street, things like that, things for kids. But is it good enough to survive the free market? Why does the government have to subsidize the post office or PBS? Neither one, or National Public Radio for that reason, NPR. Uh, they are not incentivized to have to get better. They're going to get a check whether they put out great programming or not. And so I think the government should get out of the business of funding NPR, PBS, the post office, things like that. Make them a private entity. Um, so that's my 2 cents on that. Hopefully, I didn't offend anybody. But anyway, later, folks. Everyone have a good night and a safe one. You too, Michael. I think we're wrapping it up soon, but I never know. Every time I think we're done, we get our second wind and keep going. We seem to go about 2.5 hours usually, and we're about 7 minutes away from that. So we'll see what the next 7 minutes holds. But I appreciate all you being here. If you appreciate me being here, make sure you click that thumbs up. That lets the YouTube world know that you appreciate what I'm doing and they suggest me to more people. Also, if you want to make sure you don't miss a video or a live, you can subscribe. It's free to do. Wait a second, a little bell will pop up. Click that bell, select all, and then you get a notification when future videos come out. If you need a little more information about things you've seen or heard me talk about, there's the website, truckertodd.net. Go there or look in the description of this video. There's a lot of information there, even ways that you can contact me if you need to. Of course, all the social media platforms are there. All the cash apps are there if you guys are interested in any of that stuff. But most importantly, I just appreciate each and every one of y'all being here. Oh yeah, yeah. I almost all of my loads are over $2 a mile. I pulled one load, that one from Montana to Pittsburgh, paid $1.58 a mile, and I just wanted to get out of the Northwest, so I took a little bit of a bath on that one. I was still profitable at $1.58 a mile, but it wasn't my most shining moment for sure. I'm trying to stay in the 240 to 250 range. I mean, the rates are still there. It's just, do you want to pull a 200-mile load? And sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't. I focus more on daily amounts. I try to make between 800 to 1,000 a day revenue. I try to put myself in good areas, and that's kind of what I do. But yeah, the $2 a mile loads are there. Now there's a lot of I think there's some market coercion going on. I think there's some fixing because there's loads on there for 90 cents a mile. There was loads on there for 40 cents a mile. There's a lot of loads in the $1.20 to $1.50 a mile range. And you just have to be picky, and some people aren't. And if those guys that are taking that cheap stuff that don't know their numbers, that's going to be the guys that go out of business. And knock on wood, I might go out of business, but I'm going to go down swinging, and I'm going to pick the best possible loads I can. And it might mean I have to do some multi-stop loads. It might mean I have to go to the Northeast occasionally. It might mean that I have to do some overnight driving. Whatever I got to do to get that better rate is what I'm going to do. And occasionally I'll have to take your $1.50 a mile load, but I'm going to try to make that the exception and not the rule. So glad to have you doing this on YouTube. I just appreciate you guys being here. Well, and this ain't me kissing up. I'm just going to tell you, you guys that are truck drivers, and I say that because there's people in here that aren't truck drivers. We work a lot of hours, and we're busy, and we've got a family life. I was talking to a guy today about how stuff happens at your house that never happened if you were there, and you're trying to deal with it out here on the road on your phone. And so you guys are busy. You got your own lives, things going on. There's 100 things you could be doing tonight on Thursday night, and you've chose to spend that time with me here, and I appreciate each and every one of you. That's why I don't get on here and e-beg for money. If you guys do it, great, but I just appreciate your time. That's your most valuable resource, and if you give me your time, I've already won. And so that's what I would say about that. Is that I know you're busy, and I appreciate you being here. There's a lot of you that are driving right now that you're listening to me through your radio while you're going down the road. There's a lot of you that's at grocery warehouses right now, and you're getting unloaded, and you can't listen to the live, but you're going to come back and catch the replay later. And you might not think I know you do that, but I see those views, and I really, really appreciate it. The thing I appreciate the most is when my internet goes down, and I know that sounds funny, and you guys hang around and wait for me to come back. I probably wouldn't do that. I'd leave. I'd go find another video. But you guys are so loyal. Y'all stick with me. When the naysayers get on YouTube and say bad things about me, you guys don't let it sway y'all's opinion. So I'm really, really grateful to each and every one of y'all. And I know you're all like about to barf right now. I wish he'd quit talking about this. But if I hadn't said thank you in this video, I want to say thank you. Yeah, and there's a trucking company, I believe it's Super Ego, that is getting sued right now because they're being accused. You know, they were advertising we give 80% of the load, and it found out they weren't giving 80% of the load. And we'll see how that all comes out. But it's not good. And like I say, unless you're at a company like I am where you're seeing the rate cons, you don't really know if you're getting what they say you're getting. You're trusting them. Now here, I see the rate con either at the same time the owner does or right before I send it to him. I send him a copy, but some of the brokers send him a copy too. So oftentimes he doesn't know the rate until later on, and he trusts me to book good stuff. And so I know for a fact I'm getting 80%. He's never cheated me a penny. I've gone back and looked. The fuel's always right. The rate's always right. There's no funny business. So that right there is worth its weight in gold. We've had 2 times when payroll was off, one time by $25. and I forget what the other time was, and it was fixed immediately. So there's no payroll issues. Um, a lot of times his wife does the payroll, and she's awesome. I don't have any complaints with her. Um, so yeah, that's definitely a problem. Oh crud! I almost hit the wrong button. Yes, I've pulled Amazon Freight before. I used to do it for Dart a lot. I would pick it up in Amarillo and usually run it over to Dallas or somewhere like that. It wasn't terrible. Not I didn't know the rate on it though because I was getting paid mileage, and so that's what I do. I've done it before. A good practice to have your own DOT DAT subscription. Yeah, I do. I have my own DAT subscription. I'm on the $85 level, which I can look at the average rate for the past 30 days. Kind of helps me negotiate a little bit. They have a higher tier plan that'll show you like a 15-day average, which would be even more accurate. But to me, it's not worth the extra money. And I book a lot of loads off the DAT board. Quit being mushy, LOL. Hello, Todd from the Big TA in North Carolina. Hey, thanks for being here, Alberto. I appreciate you, man. I guess Tim is parked for the night. He said he was going to drive till about 8:30, and if we were going at 8:30, he would get here. But I'm showing in Texas time it's 7:30, so he's about an hour early. We're glad he's here. I wish he was here for some of the earlier stuff. He usually has a lot of great advice as well. We don't always agree, but we've had some pretty good debates, and I like debating with him because he's one of those guys that he can put up a good fight, but he doesn't get ticked off. And if I can out debate him, he'll admit he's wrong. And if he can out debate me, I'll admit I'm wrong. So of course that never happens, but it's fun to listen to. That's what we should do, Tim. We should come up with like 5 or 10 things we really disagree on, and we should debate them out one night on here. That'd be a lot of fun. My company signs the rate con, but before they do that, they send me a copy. And if agreed to that rate, it matches. Oh, that sounds good. See, Gary, that right there, that's fair because at least you're getting to see it, and they can't tell you, oh no, it didn't pay that, it paid this because you saw it. So, yeah, companies that do that, then you know you're getting, 80% or whatever your company pays. Real estate is fine, but man, it's a terrible time to buy or sell a house. Inventory, low rates are high. Yeah, I bet. Tim is still driving. Wow, man. You're a trooper. We're still holding at 36, so we'll keep going for a little while longer. You guys throw up any questions y'all got or things you want to talk about. I'm going to double check in the comments and make sure I didn't miss nothing. Tim, don't get caught texting and driving. I believe I'm going to defend Tim because he's not here. I believe he does voice to text, and he has his headset set up to where he can do that without touching his phone. We've talked about it before. He does something similar to what I do, to where he's able to safely message without putting himself or the public in jeopardy. Thanks, Michael. I appreciate the compliment. Thanks for being here. But it's only great because of you guys. You guys are throwing up the comments, and I'm just responding to them. I appreciate all of y'all being here and making it what it is. So I'm back in trying to watch everything. Yeah, voice recognition's a different deal through Google. That's where it recognizes your voice and your oh your accent and things like that. Voice to text is where you talk to your phone and it'll type out your words. Got home today, toasty Phoenix, back out Saturday to Garland, Texas. That's a good run right there. A friend of mine does back and forth Phoenix to Dallas. He's got a dedicated run for that, and he really likes it. Y'all probably cross paths all the time and don't even know it. Swift told me I had to have an in-facing camera, so I turned him down. If you're a company driver, you do. If you're an owner-operator, you only have to have it if you use their insurance. If you get your own insurance, you can make your own choice about if you want the camera or not. That's what I did. I bought a Samsara just to do videos and talk about it, but I got my own insurance through OIDA so that I didn't have to have their camera and some safety guy breathing down my neck. 37 miles to go. Well, there you go. Almost there, Tim. Good job. You've been hard at it today. Thank you for the previous advices regarding a Swift lease. I decided to remain a company driver with my current company for a while, working 6 days a week. Yeah, Alberto, that's what I was saying earlier. I would wait, and I'd kind of take a wait and see approach right now. Not saying don't ever go to Swift. I'm not saying they're a bad company. Just when they're in a decision making phase, that's not a good time to be there, because you go there thinking things are one way, and then all of a sudden they're different. Michelle was great though, nice lady. Yeah, Michelle's awesome. We've had a few texts back and forth on Facebook, not a lot. She's busy and I'm busy, but I still tell people, if you're going to Swift, call her. And nobody listens. Everybody tries to do their own application through the internet, and they always end up filling out the company one or the wrong one. And then they message me mad a week later and go, I did an application a week ago and nobody's called me. And I find out it was a company application. And I say, here, do this one, call Michelle. And then all of a sudden the process goes real smooth. And I can tell you point blank, I'm not receiving a penny from Swift anymore. So me telling you to contact Michelle is not so I can line my pockets. It's so that you can have a good recruiting experience if that's where you decide to go. I heard that it's hot in Texas. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. It's 90 here, but it's humid. Thank God for good air conditioning. Yeah, no kidding. Well, a good friend of mine is in here, a guy I went to high school with. Really great guy. He can tell you the temperature in Texas if he's home right now. He may be out on the road working. That's my good friend Eric Gonzalez is here. Hey, Eric, thanks for coming in, man. Glad you're here. Todd, how long are you staying on the road? Are you getting decent rates? So that's a great question. I've been with this company just over 3 weeks. I've been home one time in that 3 weeks. I will be home next week for a day or two, probably, possibly 4 days. I don't know yet. So in a 5 week period, I would have been home twice for probably 4 or 5 days altogether. So uh, that's how I do that. But the truth is, and this sounds like a smart aleck answer, I go home whenever I need to, and I stay for as long as I need to. That's always a judgment call you have to make when you're a business owner, and I uh, I weigh what I need to make with what I need to do at home and try to have a good work-life balance. Eric confirmed that it's hot in Texas and doesn't feel good. That stinks, man. How's Noe doing? I used to work with Noe. He and I had a lot of laughs together. He's a good guy. By the way, for those that don't know, Noe is Eric's dad, and he's a super good guy. The sidewalk in Atlanta is cooler. I saw a YouTube video of some guys that were frying eggs on a sidewalk somewhere. It's hard to believe it gets so hot you could do that. With this economy, I feel it's better to leave the house in the positive, not worry about making a truck payment. There you go. And, it's not for everybody. And that's why I say when you guys call me and say, hey, this is what I want to do, I spend the first 15 minutes of the phone call trying to talk you out of it because you got to want to do it for the right reasons. And if your only reason for doing it is you want to make more money, there's no guarantee you're going to make more money. Matter of fact, there's a 50-50 chance you could lose everything. It's definitely a gamble. And so you want to know what you're getting yourself into. And that's why I kind of give you some resistance and try to talk you out of it at first to make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. Yeah, Eric, I don't know if you want to talk about what you do in here or not, but Eric's got a pretty cool deal. He flies out of Lubbock. He's from my hometown, but he flies out of Lubbock and meets up, and they team drive the way I understand it. I don't remember the details. He told me once, and then he flies back home, and he does really well doing it. Seems pretty happy doing it. And he used to have, I don't think he's got it anymore. He used to really have a cool Cobra Mustang. And I also had a Cobra at the time, and he'd come by the shop I worked at and see his dad. I wish you would say where you're working. I know, Christian, and we all know it's coming. I will at some point. Maybe in a few weeks. You never know. Maybe sooner. I may slip and say it by accident. That's why you guys got to watch every one of these videos. You never know what I'll slip and say. Eric says his dad is doing good. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I really like Noe a lot. I don't know where he's at these days or anything, but I really enjoyed my time working with him. I'm back. I went into the supermarket. Good deal, Ramon. I'm glad you're back. But if you go shopping while we're on air, you got to bring enough for everybody. I'm just joking with you. I used to cook hot dogs on the turbo. They were good. Yeah, there's people that are doing that too. They like wrap a brisket in foil and they'll put it on the manifold or something and cook it while they're going down the road. My luck doesn't work that way though. My luck would be some of the meat juices would blow out, they'd get in my air filter, I'd ruin my engine, all because I was trying to cook a brisket while I was going down the road. It's a life change for sure. Yeah, with me having a CPAP machine, I don't think I could ever do the team thing because I have that humidifier and I have to have that or my mouth gets really dry and I'll wake up with a bloody mouth and everything. So if I had water and it was sloshing around going down the road, I think it would tear up my machine or it'd bounce off the counter and break. And those CPAP machines aren't cheap, but I sleep like a baby when I put it on. We team drive coast to coast and deliver the mail. That's right. You told me that. Well, I feel honored you came in here, Eric. I wasn't expecting that. That's awesome. Have you seen Jonathan lately? Matter of time before one of us sees you. Yeah, that's true. And I'm not helping because I tell you guys where I'm going. I say, hey, I'm in Pennsylvania. My first stop's in Decatur. Second stop's in Sanger, Texas. Third stop's in Plainview. Fourth stop's in Lubbock. So if you're in those routes, there's a possibility you're going to see me somewhere. Everybody knows what my truck looks like, but I hope that I can hold it off for a while. Just don't burn them. Exactly. Yeah, I probably need to. I probably need to mention that. If you're at a good company that's taking good care of you, don't burn them. Let me use the guy I'm working for example. If he did something that was just a deal breaker for me, and I couldn't work for him another second, I wouldn't burn the guy because he's been very good to me. I'd take the trailer back to his yard, I'd drop it, I'd return his permit book, his fuel card, his ELD. I'd go through all the procedures and I'd leave him on good terms. I wouldn't trash him at a customer. I wouldn't purposefully deliver loads late. Nothing like that. And that goes for if he called me and said, "Hey, Todd, bring the truck to the house. You're fired." Okay, I would do it in an honorable way. I wouldn't say, "Well, I'm going to get this guy. I'm going to sell fuel. I'm going to damage his trailer." That's just not me. If they treat you good, and I would say even if they treat you bad, treat them better than they treat you. Word's going to get out about you, good or bad. So maybe if they don't like you, maybe when somebody calls for a reference, they'll say, "Well, he didn't work out here, but he's a good guy," or something like that. Or you may meet them again at another company. They may be your supervisor. You may be theirs. So just think about how you leave people and treat them at least as well as you'd like to be treated if the roles were reversed. Did that when I worked at Halliburton. I didn't even know. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I didn't realize you were working at Halliburton. I just knew you had a cool car. I don't even know what you're driving now. Been a while since I seen you. We're gonna have to hang out sometime. Last year I was in Los Angeles, 119. Yeah, it's insane. I remember one time when my son was a teenager, when he rode on the truck with me, I think we're in Phoenix, and it was like 120, and we were walking across a McDonald's parking lot. And by the time we got to the McDonald's, we looked like we'd been swimming. We were both just covered in sweat. That's too hot. And they say that you can die in that heat, like, I think it's 30 minutes or something. It doesn't take long. Oh, my. Hey, Logic, I'm glad you're here, man. I was wondering if you'd stop in tonight. What about hauling brand new trucks, then you stay in hotels and fly to your next destination? So, from what I've been told, I met a guy that did that when I worked at Dart, and it's pretty physical. You have to carry some tools because you're going to be helping hook and unhook, and it'd be real hard for a YouTuber to do because you've got like camera stuff and things like that, a laptop, and you want to pack lightly, and so. But I think if, like I said earlier in the video, if you're a single guy, if you can pack light, travel lightly, it might be fun to do. It wouldn't work for me with the CPAP machine and the laptop and the phones and all of that. People trying to call me all the time and all of that. It'd be fun. It'd be a challenge to say the least. The pack car is running great. It's been really efficient. Um, I'm very happy with it. Used to do mail to coast, Miami, Florida to New Jersey, and then to Seattle, Washington. So you know what Eric was talking about. Yeah, that deal, it all depends if you've got a good teammate. If you got a guy you like, then it's probably not a bad deal, but it's still, you got to kind of pack light because it's two guys sharing a truck and it's limited space. You can't bring all the stuff you normally would. What kind of fuel mileage are you getting? I like these guys called Blue Ribbon Logistics on YouTube. Great fuel channel, fuel savings, and just a great trucking channel. Really depends on the load and how I run. I know it sounds like I'm dodging the question when I say that. Earlier today, I was getting like 9.5, 9 3/4. But the other day, I had a light load. I was getting it was potato chips, like 13 pallets of potato chips. I was getting over 10 on that load. So it really just depends on the load. Before that, I had a heavy one. I was running fast. I was getting about 8, 8.5 most of the time. Just depends where you're at and what you're hauling. The best way to figure fuel mileage is on a monthly basis. And the reason is that way you account for all kinds of weather conditions, all kinds of loads and things like that. 115 in Phoenix today. So glad to be home. Yeah, I bet. Man, I can't imagine being there and having to mow your yard or carry out the trash or nothing in that heat. Or if you had a job where you worked outside washing cars or something, it'd just be terrible. Container freight is hurting for drivers down in Houston. Yeah. And the other day when we had Trucker CFO on, he said that flatbed had kind of gone down a little bit and that reefer was stagnant. So it's no segment of the trucking industry is immune from this economy. It's hitting everybody, and the easiest way to fix it is all of these guys have got to learn their numbers and know what is ridiculous freight rates. And I would say, then the argument begins, well, what's ridiculous? If I can run my business more efficiently than you, is it a ridiculous price? 90 cents a mile is ridiculous, folks. If you're pulling freight for 90 cents a mile, that's ridiculous, even if your truck's paid off. And I would argue $1.50 a mile is ridiculous at fuel prices, with fuel prices like they are. But as long as people, they're not going to give me $2 or $2.50 a mile if you'll pull it for $1.10 a mile. And people say, well, I can't afford to sit. Well, if you don't know your numbers, you probably can't afford to run either. And sitting here crying about it doesn't do any good either. And that's not what I'm doing. I'm not crying about it. I'm doing just fine. And I'm setting up deals to where I'll be getting loads on and off the load board in the future. And so that's really what you got to do, build relationships and get to a point where you're set up good. And that's the guys that are really doing good out here right now. That's what they're doing. With autonomous truck routes from Houston to Dallas increasing, the rates in Texas will continue to fall. I generally agree with you, but here's what I'd say about that. Until the first accident, then there's going to be lawsuits and all kinds of stuff. And then that's when the fun begins. Right now, it's all fun and games, but you wait till one of those autonomous trucks wreck and the lawsuits begin, and then we'll see what happens. And they still got to have a driver in the truck, from what I understand. So they're probably paying him substantially less because he's not having to do as much work. Yeah, exactly. That's not a bad number. Usually it's between $1 and $1.50, depending on your operation. I talked to a guy that he said his was at $1.80, but he was figuring his taxes and some stuff like that in there. And it really depends on how you define your numbers, but you need to have a working estimate. If I ask you what your cost per mile is and you tell me 60 cents, then you don't know your numbers. Or if I ask you your cost per mile and you tell me $2, either you don't know your numbers or your overhead's way too high. And that's everybody's number's different, and that's part of the problem. You can't go watch Trucker Todd and Trucker Todd say my cost per mile is this, and then go, okay, well, that's my cost per mile too, because your numbers are different than mine. Your average miles per week is different than mine. 114 degrees last week in the 18-mile bridge rest area in Louisiana. Oh yeah, and that's a miserable heat because it's humid. Oh man, I don't envy you at all. You can have that. All righty. Hey, Todd, using Mudflap, getting my fuel. They have good deals for fuel. In some places they do. I do use them sometimes. In the description of my video, there is a link that if you use that link, you get $10 off your first tank of fuel. And that link is in there. It's free to do. And if you guys want to use that, take advantage of that. Also, my ES Advantage fuel card information is there. That's the card where I save the most fuel. I haven't been able on fuel. I hadn't been able to use it much lately, but I do use it periodically, and I hope to be able to get back to using it full time here pretty soon. Here lately, I've been using, and I'll just be honest with you guys, I've been using the NASTIC card through the company just because my personal finances were so tight that I needed to. But in the coming weeks, I'm expecting my finances to get a lot better, specifically after the 17th of the month. And at that time, I hope to start loading that ES Advantage card, using it again. They also have some promos going right now. If you use my link, I believe you get a $35 credit. So that's something else you'll want to check out. It's a short questionnaire for the ES Advantage. You answer like 5 questions, and then a day or two later, somebody will call you and go over everything with you. But people always say, what can I do right now? Mudflap's something you can do right now today if you want to save on fuel. And you're going to save pretty significantly at most places. Typically, it's the smaller mom and pop truck stops, but I like going there anyway and helping the little guy out. All righty, we're all caught up on the comments. Coming up on the 3-hour mark. My voice is getting scratchy, but I'm still here. Have you guys got anything else that you want to talk about before we wrap it up tonight? I'm going to go ahead and pull Ramon's comment off so that you can see the website again. I hope you'll check it out. Don't forget about the fine folks at Cordell, and Avery's number is down in the ticker as well. Give him a call tomorrow morning. Don't do it tonight. I think that's his cell phone. Give him a night at home, but call him tomorrow and he'll be glad to help you find the truck you've been looking for. Yeah, I think the reason we don't talk about DEF a lot is A, there's no discounts available for it, and B, we use a relatively small amount of it. I looked earlier today. I think in the last 3 weeks I've used $80 or $90 of DEF. I can't look because my phone's locked up where I got that information. Let me see if I can just kind of get you an idea. I got a settlement earlier today, so I can look on there and see what it says I've spent on DEF so far. Okay, so in just a little over 3 weeks, I've spent $190.28 on DEF. That would be just a hair over $60 a week on DEF. Robbie makes another great point. Not everyone reports DEF prices. That's true too. A lot of the apps don't even tell you what the DEF pump price is. You find out when you get there. How much you put down payment for your truck? I did $5,000 plus the tax and title fees. My price was $57.28, but it literally varies based on what state and county you live in. And so I typically do that, or typically want to tell you that yours may vary a little. Yours may be $100 more, $100 less than mine. But mine was $57.28 all in. And of course, you got to get your $22.90. I'm not counting that. There's some other expenses, of course, but just to I had to have my own insurance, things like that. Mom and pop are cheap, and QT are way less. Yeah, exactly. And you'll find that over your Big Five chain, they're usually about 30 or 40 cents cheaper. Now, sometimes the big chains will give you a discount and they'll make them competitive or a little cheaper. But I use several apps to maximize my savings. Mainly these days, mainly Mudflap, mainly ES Advantage, and then the Nastic card, and try to do what's the cheapest between the three. But just because money's been tight the last 3 weeks, I've used uh, Nastic almost exclusively, except for 2 or 3 times. How do you navigate home life with little kids being a driver? Daughter doesn't want me to go. Well, I'm fortunate. All my kids are grown, and I've got some grandkids. But we live in an age where you can video chat and call. You know, when I started driving, you had to get these phone cards and call on pay phones, and you might only call the house once or twice a week because it got expensive. But now there's a lot of options. I would say in the summertime, if you're with a company that allows riders to take her out on the truck with you over the summer, just try to maximize your time with her. Also, this is the most important thing I'll tell you. When you're home, be home. Spend time with her. I mean, as much as you can, make her a focal point, and that helps to where when you're gone, she's looking forward to you coming back. Hey, Dad, what are you going to do when we get back in town? Um, make it a habit where y'all are talking every day. And I realize she's going to have school events, and that's not always possible. But make it a habit to try to where it feels strange to both of you if you're not talking on the phone every day. And it's not easy. It's I try to talk a lot of guys out of being a truck driver when you got small kids at home. And no doubt about it, some kids adapt better than other kids, and some wives adapt better than other wives. But you've hit the trifecta if you've got kids and a wife that supports you while you're doing it. And before you do it, you're actually in a situation where you can sit down and talk to them and uh, and make sure that they're really okay with everything. Yes, sir. But they're natural gas, but they're typically doing out and back runs where they can fit in the range. Natural gas would be really hard to do on an over the road operation just because the infrastructure's not there yet. And I always wonder if you're almost like a tanker pulling gas, if you're in an accident, I would think that would explode. Maybe it doesn't, but natural gas is pretty flammable. And so I've never had an interest in wanting to do it. But yeah, they're doing out and back in a day cab, and it probably works well in that kind of operation. Same thing with an electric truck. If you ever got electric trucks and you did say 200 miles out, 200 miles back, an electric truck might work in that situation. But the amount of batteries with our current technology that you'd have to make my over the road truck go 600 or 700 miles a day, it's the infrastructure's not there. You'd have trucks stranded everywhere. And then what's roadside going to charge to come out and charge your truck? Are you going to carry a little generator so you can boost yourself off? I mean, they don't have all this stuff figured out yet. When they talk about green energy, it sounds real good. It sounds like a great idea, something we'd all support, but just the technology's not there yet. And who knows, in 20 or 30 years, it may be there, but it's not there yet. How are you hauling brokers wanting to track you? Would you Apple AirTag work so they will not harass you? So that's a great question. So what I do, I have a phone. It's actually this phone here, this Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 4, the same one you've seen me looking up stuff on tonight. That's exclusively for brokers. And I've got all the broker apps on there, and I put all the tracking apps on there. There's about probably 5 or 6 different ones that people seem to be regularly using. And that way I can turn them off. When I go home, I can turn the location off. And that's how I do that. I also have a tablet that runs my ELD. I can either leave it in the truck when I go home, or I can log out of the ELD when I go home. And it's even more complicated than that. That tablet, I also have it. I have user defined users in it, and I have a user defined as ELD. And when I'm on the ELD, nothing else in the tablet works. So there's no videos, there's no nothing like that on there. If a DOT took it and looked at it, the only thing he could access, the only thing I could access is that ELD. Now, if I'm at home, I can log out of the ELD, go into that other user profile, and use it like a regular tablet if I choose to. But honestly, when it comes to brokers tracking me, I haven't been real concerned about it, and that really surprises me. And it's just because they're doing so much volume and they're so busy that I don't think they have the time or the energy. And most of the broker apps, it tells you while you're in there. I mean, the tracking apps, it tells you while you're in there if tracking is on or off, and they usually turn it off as soon as you do your empty call. But what does frustrate me, let me talk about this for a second, since we're still going. What does frustrate me is you download all these trucking apps and they still want you to email them arrive, depart. And I'm like, what's the purpose of the tracking app if I've still got to email you? Now, I don't say nothing to them. That's the thought that goes through my mind. What's the purpose of a tracking app if I still got to call you? And, you know, it's, and they'll call sometimes for check calls. Hey, where you at? Have you arrived yet? And the thing this another pet peeve. You'll have a load. Let's use my one for an example tomorrow. And this broker has not done this yet. I'm just using them as an example. This broker's been great so far. But you'll have a 5 p.m. appointment. They'll call you at 9 o'clock in the morning. Now they've already tracked you. They know you're 6 miles away, and they'll go, "Hey, you got an appointment this afternoon. You gonna be able to make it?" Yeah, I'm 7 miles away. I think I'm good. I've got 8 hours to go 7 miles. I could probably crawl it. I could probably walk it backwards. But of course, you can't say that. You got to say, yes, sir, I'm going to head over there about this time. And you got to be cordial. But it's just, why do we need all these tracking apps if we're still going to email? And if they can see that I'm 7 miles away, why are they calling me 8 or 10 hours early to see if I'm still okay for an on time pickup? Like I told the owner of this company when I got here, I'm going to make mistakes. I'm probably going to make some pretty big mistakes. But when I do, you don't have to worry about catching me. I'll call you and tell you because I'll I figure the punishment will be a lot less severe if it comes from me than if you find out from somebody else, a motorist, a customer, something like that. So when I screw up, I'm going to snitch on myself. If I tear up a trailer door, he doesn't have to worry about finding it when I bring it back to Mississippi. I'll tell him, hey, I screwed it up. And that's how you want to be. Have some integrity, have some honesty, and it'll go a long way, and it'll end up benefiting you ultimately. People will put more trust in you if they see you're a trustworthy person. But no, I don't think Apple AirTag would work. How much data do you use on broker phone and tablet separately? The tablet will use about 2 gigs a month just on the ELD. 1 to 2 gigs is what they say. I think that's a little bit of an overestimate. But you got to remember, because of the YouTube channel, I use everything to the max. So the phone that I use for brokers, I used want to say close to 40 gigs on it, and it got deprioritized. It only has 30 gigs of high speed on it. It got deprioritized. The tablet, it has 15 gigs of hotspot. I maxed it out because I use the hotspot on it while the ELD's going to run like my GPS has it gets weather alerts and traffic alerts and stuff like that. So I use uh, I use every bit of data on those things. But if you're just using it strictly for an ELD, it's probably going to use 1 to 2 gigs. TQL, they call you like every 3 hours. Yes, I would not disagree with that statement. Yes, sir, I agree with you completely. They are one of the more severe ones. They will call you and ask if you picked up. I'm 100 miles away. Yeah. Yeah. They're like, they'll call you and they're like, hey, we noticed that, dang it, we noticed that you're going the wrong direction from the shipper. Did you cancel? No, I've already picked it up. I sent you an email and I answered and I did your status call on your tracking app. Oh, we hadn't had time to check that. Or, oh, it doesn't work half the time. Well, then why are we using it? I mean, you don't say that to them, obviously, but why are we using it if we all acknowledge that it doesn't work and it's not accurate? It doesn't help anybody. So if it doesn't work and they're looking to see where you're at to tell a customer, it's probably giving them bad information. If you ever pick up a load with police escorts, I have Tennessee to Maryland. No, I never have. I've picked up at some places. I picked up a load of IBM computers, and man, this was probably 20 years ago, and it had pretty tight security. And I picked up a load of Pfizer drugs one time, and it had pretty tight security. It went to Brooklyn, New York, of all places. And I don't think I've been back to Brooklyn, New York since. I was like, once is enough for me. I recommend Mophie hotspot or a tablet with cellular. I was using 20 gigs or so on the tablet and 40 on my phone. Yep, every device I have in here has hotspot, and including my tablet, and they all have data. I use probably 300 gigs a month, something like that, maybe more. I'm just guessing. But the things I do are pretty data intensive. This YouTube channel takes a lot of data, and it's not the download speed, it's the upload speed that's important. And as for hotspots, I've got an AT&T one and a Verizon one that I've used, and a T-Mobile one, and they just, for mobility and for what I do, these hotspots on these phones work a lot better. But I'm using top tier phones too. That helps too. If you're getting a $200 or $300 cell phone, it's probably not going to have the processors to do what you need it to do. If you're doing YouTube and everything, I'm speaking specifically about YouTube. What he was asking about, what Tim was asking about, I think what he's got will be more than sufficient for what he's wanting to do. All right, Gary, have a great night. Thank you for being here. I can't believe we're still going. We're at almost 3 hours and 15 minutes. You guys are just full of questions tonight, and I appreciate each and every one of them. Y'all make the show. I had KFC earlier tonight. It was really, really good, which is unusual for KFC these days. But it was hot, hot in that store. They said that their air conditioning was out, and it was 80 something degrees inside the building. I couldn't hardly enjoy the good food just because it was so dang hot in there. So what else y'all got? If not, we're going to wrap it up here pretty quick. We probably should do that anyway. I got some of you old timers in here. Y'all need to go to bed at 7:30, 8 o'clock. And here we are at 8:14 Central Time. So, all right, I guess we'll do it then. Let's call it a night. Appreciate all y'all being here. We'll see you back Tuesday night with another one, and look for those recorded videos next week. We'll see you. Take care. Bye bye.